All right, give me a
We're
mic.
live.
Oh,
Hi.
well, hello, YouTube. It's currently 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and this is WTUB Radio, your home for the Heavy Metallurgy podcast. My name is Professor Steele, and I'll be joined this evening, as always, by my most benevolent co host, Mr. Martin Richtinen. Martin, how are you this fine evening?
I'm ready to rock.
Hell yeah!
How y'all doing, folks?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll sit here and natter for a bit as folks start to filter in, but hope everybody has had a good week. It's been a pretty good week on my end. It's, hot. Summertime in South Carolina tends to be that way, but pretty good week overall. Nothing I can really complain about. Just doing fun stuff with the family, getting a little work done, playing some heavy metal records in between. Marty, how's your week been?
My week has been very busy. It's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant here, if you don't mind, Alan.
Absolutely. I believe, yes, you've done some cool stuff. You've had lots of orders shipping lately, I know, for Chaos Moon and Panopticon.
Yep, and I want to say to the people that are still waiting, yes, I'm about just over half to 3/4. Oh, you ordered shit too, Alan? You haven't got yet? Damn it.
Where's my burrito? Where's my burrito? Where's my burrito?
Here's the deal. My buddy Jack, he comes and helps out package pre-orders when there's a bunch of them, like now. And his family's had a bit of a death in the family, which is completely crappy. And so sorry for them. And he hasn't been able to help out. So I've been slinging along on my own, along with everything else going on. I've got over half of things sent out. Next week, I got to focus on all the shirt orders, a lot of printing to do. So everybody that's ordered, thank you for your patience. I know it sucks. I wish I could get them to you on the day of release day, but just sometimes it doesn't work out, and I feel bad. And also, my band, The Glorious Dead, we played our first show back since December of 2019. We played last night at the Traverse City Comedy Club. With the bands Infinium and Aurelius. It was a bunch of great guys. It was a great night. I was utterly shocked at the turnout, to be completely honest. I live up here in Traverse City, Michigan. It's a beautiful area. I've lived here my entire life, and I've grown up here being a devout metalhead and not seeing much of a lot of metalheads around here. But the last 5-6 years, it's kind of blossomed. There was tons of metal shirts. Good bands, like you're like, wow, I can't believe someone in this town is wearing that shirt type of situation. The turnout, there was over 100 people there. It's a new venue, the Comedy Club. They were happy. They want to do it again. There's going to be like a metal thing going on there, and that's what we need up here. We don't have a lot of bands, but we've got having a venue that supports them is very important, and it might breed other bands starting out to actually have a place to work towards to get into. So I want to thank the Comedy Club, and I want to thank Larry and Dane from Aurelius for putting the whole shindig on. They did a great job. We had a great time. We were a little rough around the edges, and the sound was really cavernous in this big place. It sounded like we were playing in a basketball court with the hardwood floors, and we're a little rusty, but man, we had a really great time, and people seemed to dig it. And we appreciate everybody that bought merch and came out and support. It's really nice, even for people that traveled some distance. Really appreciate it. Very nice to see. It was a lot of fun to get back into the swing of it again, and kind of forgetting. I think a lot of us, me anyway, the first time I've been back to a restaurant since the whole pandemic was a couple months ago, and it felt weird. This didn't feel weird. I didn't feel like, granted, COVID's still a thing. It's still going around. People are still getting it. But, for an evening, I didn't think about it at all, which is probably when it sneaks up and gets you. But, whatever. Good friends stopped out and banged their heads, and we made them deaf along with ourselves. It feels like someone took a baseball bat and left me in the gutter to die because I'm old and don't move much anymore. So it was a lot of fun, man. And thank you, everybody, again. I'm rambling, but we really appreciate it. It's good to see, and hopefully it continues on and we can actually finally build something up in this little northern Michigan city. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Thank you for indulging me there for a second, Alan.
Oh, absolutely. Really glad to hear that the show went well and that you guys had a fun time with it.
Oh, I do want to add, a couple people at the show actually came up and said that they watch Heavy Metallurgy and they enjoy it. And thank you all again for, there's almost 50 of you in here already, but it means a lot to both of us that this is getting out there a bit and people seem to like it. And we really appreciate that. And if you're watching this on Facebook, I don't think a lot of people watch it on Facebook. I stream it simultaneously with YouTube and Facebook. Go ahead and go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that, because watching it on Facebook, it can't be all that good. And you're only made alerts of it when I post this thing. It's good to be on the YouTube channel. Come on over, subscribe. That way you're sure not to miss anything. And it doesn't get lost in the feed of people showing pictures of their dinners and their cats and their, their political or religious stuff. It's all,
Yeah. You can also participate in the chat as things go on, which folks have been jumping in earlier and earlier in the evening on that, which is fun to see that people are having a lot of fun there and enjoying it even before the show starts, getting in there and posting some comments, seeing the regulars come in and chat a bit before Marty and I eventually hop on. So yeah, I'm glad folks are having a lot of fun in the chat and checking stuff out and having good conversations that don't rely on the two of us blathering along necessarily.
And it's really good too. I mean, you guys in the chat, you do contribute to the show. We try to get you worked in here, and sometimes you can steer our conversation as well, which is the whole point of it. And thank you again for, for partaking. And it is kind of funny. Usually when I get the stream set up, Tim is the first one to post, but today Celtic Frosty dethroned him as the first poster on the chat. So Tim, I don't know what's going on down there or over there or wherever you're at, but get it together, man. You're losing your grip. What's going on, man? What's going on? But anyway, yes, before we jump into this, is there anything else you wanted to jibber jabber about before we get into it, Alan?
I think we just have the usual disclaimers that if folks are interested in supporting the show, there's a few things you can do. Marty's got Heavy Metallurgy t-shirts available over in the Bindrun shop. I'm sure he's got the link in the main description down below, so folks can check those out. They look really awesome. And as usual, the super chats are turned on. So if you want to throw a few dollars our way to help cover StreamYard costs and stuff like that, we appreciate it very much. You do not have to. There's absolutely no pressure to do so. We'll be delivering the exact same content one way or the other. But sometimes folks ask, is there a way I can help out? I really enjoy. I'd like to do something to help y'all. That's a way that you can just sort of, chip in. And yeah, helps out, help me get a new microphone, helps Marty cover StreamYard costs, lets us, have a little money in the bank in case, somebody's computer blows up or something like that. So yeah, those are just some ways folks can contribute to the show if they want to. We always just like to remind folks of that. Sometimes we've got first-time viewers, and sometimes it just, slips people's minds. They were meaning to order a shirt, waiting for payday, and kind of slipped their mind. So just a friendly reminder, those things are available for those that are interested.
And also, I do want to say that there's going to be other shirts. I just need to get with we need to get some artistic ideas and get that rolling. This one was just it worked out super simple and smooth. And if you're an artist and you're in the chat, hit me up. Let's chat. I would like to get another design or two out there. We'll pop those up on occasion. People seem to like them, and they turn out good, and it's a good way to support the channel as well. So yeah, if you're an artist, I might not we might not be able to figure it out, but it'd be kind of cool if you submitted something. That'd be really great. Make a tank top.
Melissa's requesting tank tops.
Tank tops, we shall see. And also thongs. We have to come up with a Heavy Metallurgy thong.
Yeah, if we can.
Alan will happily model.
just throwing it out there, but if we're going the banana hammock route, danger, screw it artwork with the bananas. There's something there. I don't know what yet, and it may be censored or illegal in certain territories, but there's something there.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. If anyone deserves to be plastered all over a thong, it's definitely Ted Poley.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That could be taken a lot of different ways. I want to let the chat sort that out. We're not. I'm not going to dwell on it right now because we got other things to discuss, don't we?
Oh no, that Tom, that funny. I watched that blooper, that funny Marty Worm video, and was reminded that Tom from God damn it,
Arcadia.
Cine Arcadia. I was thinking Cinnamel for some reason, thinking Cinnabon or something. I don't know. Always thinking about food because I have to maintain this level of sexiness all the time. But yeah, Tom is the one that put that together, and just out of the blue surprised me with it. And yeah, I can't imagine the amount of work and going through watching that crap, that crap to find that shit. But yeah, cheers to you, Tom. And yeah, cool. But we're here tonight. We're guestless, which is fine.
Yes,
it's been a busy
week, especially for you, Marty. So yeah, it was a good week for us to not have to worry about scheduling a guest or doing a lot of research for a topic, and yeah, just take it a little bit easier. We haven't done a playlist check in quite some time, so yeah, seemed like a good week to rotate that in. Hey, Tom, there he is.
He wants a cod piece. We can maybe figure that out.
I gotta be careful. Blackie Lawless don't sue us, but he seems like the lawyering type. I'm just going to throw that out there too. I hope he's not, because that'd be a shame. But you never know.
Okay. Sorry, someone texted me. I was reading that.
No worries. But yeah, so tonight we will just be chatting about stuff that we've been spinning recently. What's been in our playlist? What has taken up a residency on our turntables, CD decks, or tape decks for a while. Hey, Mushi, thank you very much. Very, very.
Thank you so much. You're so
nice
kind.
To see you in the chat tonight, Mushi.
I know she typically comes on late, but it's good to see you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. But
yeah. And actually, Rick came up with a really good idea today. Before we move on, I just wanted to share this with the class and see what people.
I know Rick has a good idea, but where the hell am I supposed to find a duck and a rubber hose at this hour, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, he sends you different good ideas than he sends me. That's
good ideas aren't always practical, is my point, I think. But so if you got a different good idea from Rick, let's hear yours. Maybe yours is more feasible.
He sent me a text today. It says, wow, 62 episodes of Heavy Metallurgy. Of course, number 69. It would make sense to do a naughty and spicy albums themed one. Ha ha. And that's not a horrible idea, but I don't know.
I don't know. I do like my job and would like to keep it at the same time.
Right. But anyway, why don't you start us off, Alan? What has been perusing your stereo systems and earbuds the last month or two?
Yeah, let's start with one piece of vinyl that's gotten a bunch of spins. And actually, let's burp into our hand and then get to it. This one, Panphasia's Storm album. Panfaga. Sorry, I figured I was getting it wrong. I took a stab and I missed horribly. Yeah, Swedish band. Very cool. This was something that Aaron mentioned from Nachachuan the last time he was on Heavy Metallurgy a few weeks ago when we discussed literary references in heavy metal. And yeah, this was one of the first things he mentioned, and it sounded really interesting. And Marty had mentioned that he still had copies in the bind room shop. So yeah, Marty hooked me up with this. And yeah, it's really interesting style. They do sing. I'm assuming it's in Swedish. Sounds really good. It's got a little bit of a Viking metal feel to it, but it's not completely in that territory. There's still more traditional black metal elements mixed in with it as well. It's got a good blend of those styles. Viking metal is something I like, but tends to be in small doses. I get tired of it very quickly. And so, yeah, this, has enough other things going on that it's kept my attention and has been a really interesting listen. So yeah, I've been digging this one quite a bit. I also got the second album. Thanks for sending those along, Marty. I haven't played the second one yet because I have been spending a lot of time with this first one. So I'm not in really any hurry to move to the second one until I'm finished digesting this one completely. But yeah,
actually, really those are the two latest ones. There was more albums before those two.
Oh, were they? Okay. Yeah. I did not know. I hadn't looked back into the discography. Okay. Yeah. But so, yeah, if that style sounds intriguing to y'all, Marty has copies left. And yeah, it's a band I had never heard of until Aaron mentioned them, but they definitely sounded pretty neat. I've looked at the second one that I got, and I forget the title of it. Marty, perhaps you can refresh me.
Dreng's Dringskapper. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like that one may be a little bit of a concept album. It's got like a story, kind of a traditional Swedish or Icelandic story written out on the liner notes. I'm guessing the music kind of goes along and tells that same tale. Again, I haven't actually played that one yet, so not sure, but it looks like it'll be an interesting one too. So yeah, that's one's been sitting on the turntable for a couple of weeks. Storm. All right, Marty. So I've stumbled through that one. What's first on your list this evening?
Actually, Michael, I agree with you. The Panfaga, it does really remind me of Arcanum quite a bit. Swedish.
Okay.
Wait, Panfaga's Finnish? Finnish or Swedish? I can't fucking remember.
I will check. Well, let's see. I was thinking.
I think they're Swedish, but yeah, very much an Arcanum tip. Very catchy, memorable riffs, and just in the same style. It's good shit. Good stuff.
They are Swedish, but yeah, I had noticed in the liner notes on the other album that it sounded like there's a lot of the tale kind of jumps around between Finland and Iceland and other locations in that kind of general Northern Eurabia realm. So that may be where the confusion came in. All right, so Mr. Marty, what's first on your list?
Well, I'm going to start off with a CD I've listened to a lot, and it was sent to me by Tom. It's in Arcadia Productions. Thank you so much for this, Tom. This is Catch the Rainbow, a tribute to Rainbow. The thing about this is it's pretty much mostly Halloween members. Uli Kush, the drummer for Halloween at the time, he's the one that kind of put this whole project together. I think he plays a lot of the stuff on here, but it also has basically everybody from Halloween during the time where Uli was in the band and Roland Grappow. And there's also members of Brainstorm, Henyo from Gamma Ray on here on a track, dude from Gravedigger, Kingdom Come, Halloween, of course, Primal Fear, Ralph Shippers sings on a track, Punch TV, Rough Silk, Zed Yago Guy, and Freelancer. This is really good, man. The covers are very authentic. You got Kill the King, 16th Century, Green Sleeves, Stargazer, which is killer, Lost in Hollywood, Catch the Rainbow, I Surrender, Spotlight Kid, Man on the Silver Mountain, Rainbow Eyes, Eyes of the World, Still I'm Sad. Here's the main band picture for the thing. It's obviously nobody from Halloween in it, but you get into the poster and you can kind of see all of the cast of characters. Marcus in there, Roland, Andy down here. But yeah, it's they do a great job on the covers, man. It sounds great. There's nothing on here that makes me go, ooh, that's not a good song, not a good cover. I mean, it's good source material. I mean, if you're a talented musician, if the source material is good, your chances of fucking it up are slim. But this is a really good tribute album. Very cool. And it's cool. It's all German musicians from the metal scene. When did this come out? This came out in 99. So just before the Y2K thing. Good shit. If you're a Rainbow fan, if you're a Halloween fan, if you're a Gamma Ray fan, if you're a fan of any of those bands, this is totally worth checking out. Great vocals on all of it. Good shit. Check it out.
Very cool. Yeah, tribute, things like that sometimes can, at best, be a one or two spins and you're done with it. So, yeah, it's always cool when one of them has some staying power.
All right, you're up.
All right. Next up for me is this one. It's the full-length debut by Demiser called Through the Gate Eternal. Local boys, South Carolina, represented here with some blackened speed metal. Found out about these at the local record store a while back. I was stopped in and was just poking around. The guys there recognized me, of course, and said like, hey, have you checked this one out? I'm just like, no, don't know that one. So they're like, oh yeah, they're from around here and doing pretty well. So well, sure, hell, I'll take a copy of it. Why not? And yeah, it's a style that's been pretty popular the past few years. They're very much just doing the black and speed thing, the kind of harsh, raspy vocals, very fast, quick tempo stuff. They do it quite well for that style. I've liked it. One thing that I like on this is not every single song is just head down, go as fast as you can. They do rein it in a couple of tracks here and there, which helps break up the album a little bit, makes it just a little more pacey so that it just doesn't blur by all at once. Some bands in this style, while it's fun, it can go in one ear and out the other very quickly because they just keep doing the same thing every song. So I was glad to hear these guys had some variety. They showed that they could do a few different things rather than just play, what sounds like the same song over and over. So yeah, they seem to be doing pretty well and catching on. I haven't confirmed it, but I've heard rumors that they've been picked up by Metal Blade for their next album. This one came out in late 2021. It's on vinyl and also CD. And so yeah, if they've gotten picked up by Metal Blade, that is pretty cool. Obviously, that'd be a big step forward for them. So yeah, if you enjoy stuff, in that vein of, Bewitcher, Wraith, Butcher, lots of these bands have been very popular in recent years. Midnight and Goat Whore and other projects in the past. Demiser is a very good one in that same vein. I would highly recommend checking them out. The CD is just kind of in a cardboard top loader sleeve, but it does have a booklet with it crammed in with the disc. So it's not just, it's not just like one of those old promo cardboard CDs. There's actually a book that comes with it that still has lyrics, pictures, all the normal stuff in it. But it is also on vinyl as well for folks that prefer that. They had CDs when I was there, so I picked up the CD. But yeah, cool South Carolina black speed metal. We don't get a lot of heavy metal bands in this neck of the woods, so it's kind of cool to see that there's one that is actually pretty good to listen to, not just, some guys fucking around and not really finding their lane, and that they seem to be getting some attention and maybe moving on to a bigger stage pretty soon. So yeah, Demiser, Through the Gate Eternal. Check it out.
Right on.
See, Marty, are you familiar with that one?
Not at all.
Okay. I will try to pick up a copy and maybe send it your way in the near future then. I've got a couple of things starting to collect for you.
Oh, right on. I for you as well. A few things I forgot to send last time. So
all good. No worries.
We'll keep the train rolling for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
What's next on your list?
Next for me, I got to thank Ben for putting me back on track for Warlord. A few things I was missing in their collection. So this is going to be kind of I've got 4 things to show here. I figure I'll talk about them all, but he sent me this as VCLT. It's called A Crack in the Sky, a tribute to William J. Samus. I don't know, the T I'm assuming is silent. He passed away. He was the main guy from Warlord. This is an awesome tribute. A lot of bands on here I've never heard of. There is not a cover song on here that is bad. It's all, again, really well considered. Let me see here. I'm not going to go through the whole track list. Mirror doing Aliens, Summerlands doing Lost and Lonely Days, Twisted Tower Dire, I know them, doing Miss Victoria, Claymorian doing 70,000 Sorrows, which is a great song, Firewolf, Steel Shock, Reflection, Galaxy, Comet Rider. I mean, there's a lot of bands on here I've never heard. And obviously the love for Warlord is strong because they nail it. It's a very unique style. And that got me realizing I'm missing a few things in the collection. So I ended up picking this up, Rising Out of the Ashes.
Mm-hmm.
This has got Joachim, however you say it, Cans from Hammerfall singing all the songs on here. And he does an excellent job. There's a few new tracks on here and some remakes of older songs. Very good album, very solid. And made me realize that I did not have the Lordian Guard stuff. I had a CD of it back in the day when it came out. I ended up giving it to a friend because it wasn't my thing. Why isn't it my thing? It's William doing all the music on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think his wife was doing the vocals. So I picked up the 2 Lordian Guard CDs. I got the what the hell's this called? Woe to the Inhabitants of the Earth. And also I got Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God.
That's the one I used to have. Yeah.
Both of these are 2 CD sets. One of them deals more with demo material and other stuff. I see why I owned this one. I gave it away. I see why I gave it away. I think the music is fantastic. I'm not a big fan of his wife's vocals. I'll be completely honest. I just, like, on this album, her vocals are too loud in the mix, and her vocals aren't great. They're okay. I think if she was mixed a little better, maybe a little more effects on there. But the music is great. This one here, which one of these? I don't know exactly which one. Both of these, he seems to be very much rooted in redoing a bunch of Warlord songs, and with his wife singing on it. I mean, there's some original stuff on here for sure. It's in his musical style. There's a lot of doubled solo lines and he doubles all the riffs. They're very melodic. He had a very distinct, amazing style that worked wonderful in Warlord. And that translates over to the music on this stuff too. But he couldn't shake the Warlord thing. And there's just a lot of remakes of Warlord songs with his wife singing on it. If she had a better production, you could tell they're probably doing this in their bedroom.
Yeah, it always sounded like kind of a little bit of a low budget affair.
It's very low budget, but the music is solid, and it sounds like drum machines on here where they had, you had Mark Zonder from Fate's Warning playing drums on this stuff. So, I mean, obviously Warlord was his baby, and, he wasn't a very prolific writer, and there wasn't a ton of Warlord releases, but you listen to the music and you kind of see why. There's so much intricacy to the music. Like I said, all the leads are doubled. All the riff lines are very intricate harmonies or melodies that are doubled. I mean, very distinct sound. It's a band that only played out once or twice. He was very much a guy that just kind of stuck in the studio to create. But the Lordian Guard shit's worth hearing. I haven't even spun the second discs on both of these. I haven't had them long, but I've listened to both of the CDs on here, and it's good. It's just not great. I don't want to throw shade at her vocal style, but it's just, I don't love it. I can't lie. I don't love her vocals, especially when they're doing Warlord songs. You hear it in your head a certain way, and you hear her singing it. It's not the same. It's not the same level of quality vocally, but the Warlord stuff on its own is exceptional metal. Very good stuff.
Yeah. Lordian Guard is kind of a split one. You're right. Some folks really get into it if they like Bill's guitar work, but it never quite. It needed like rounding out with a full lineup and production and stuff like that, in my opinion. But I know a lot of folks do dig it even for what it is.
She wavers in and out of key sometimes, and again, it seems like it sounds like they're doing it in their home, which is fine. But the way the recording, home recording has come a long way. If you buy the right plugins and stuff, there's no reason why you can't stumble upon a good sound. That's all I'm going to say there. But anyway, Alan, what's next for you?
All right, let's see. Next up, let's do a new wave of British heavy metal one. I know Frank and some of the other new wave of British heavy metal fans are in the chat. So picked this one up recently. Came out a couple of years ago, and I just missed it at the time, but was doing the thing none of us should ever do. Window shopping on Discogs, and came across this as like, ooh, piece of candy. Next thing you know, I was in my cart. It's a collection by Holocaust. It's called Heavy Metal Mania, the singles. And basically, this is a collection of the band's 4 EPs that they released with kind of, the original lineup before the band fell apart. Folks will recognize the cover art. This is from their first release, the Heavy Metal Mania EP. I don't know what the hell that bird did to the guy who owns that sword, but damn, harsh. That bird got his for something. But yeah, Holocaust, well-known new wave of British heavy metal act. They were Scottish, if I remember right. My UK geography sucks, so apologies if it's one of the ones that's not Scotland. But yeah, they're best known, for the Nightcomers album, and of course for getting covered by Metallica later on. But even before the album, the Nightcomers had come out, they did a couple of EPs that were released as both 12 inches and 7 inches. And so, yeah, this collects, the first pair and then a couple more that they did after the Nightcomers came out. And I'd always wanted something like this because I've never actually tracked down any of those EPs. I've got a couple of copies of the Nightcomers. I've got the live album they did. I had their second album, No Man's Land, and great googly moogly. We're not going to talk about that because damn, that album's bad. It was one of those, the band got back together after they broke up, but there's only like one original member, and yeah, that's a rabbit hole for another night. But yeah, I'd always wanted a collection that had all those early EP tracks because a lot of them did not show up on the Nightcomers, and some of them I don't think were on the live set from the live Hot Curry and Wine album either. So it's just kind of cool to get all of those pulled together in one place. There's nothing else to it. It's just the tracks from those EPs, but makes a pretty good listen. Holocaust is one of those bands that they had kind of a heavy sound. The guitar tone was always pretty heavy, a little jagged sounding, but the song structures are also usually relatively straightforward. 4/4 rock kind of structure to it all. So they tend to be thought of as one of the slightly heavier and more aggressive new wave of British heavy metal bands, but they certainly weren't in league with the Venom or things of that nature. But still, good band. They had a lot of good songs besides just the Small Hours. That was actually sort of an oddball one that got picked to be covered. But yeah, tracks like Death or Glory, really good. Heavy Metal Mania. The version on the EP is different than the version from the album. So even if you're just familiar with the Nightcomers, you can still hear some different versions of some of those tracks that are also pretty cool. So nice collection, was a very fair price online. If you want to hear all that Holocaust stuff that's a little harder to find, this is the collection that you've been looking for. Just whatever that bird did, don't do that because damn.
Hey, Glenn, he said there's a band from Michigan called Genocide that fucking rips. That band is no more, and members of that band started a band called Centenary, and I believe they're on CDN Records now from Canada, and they are a really good band. They specialize in pretty much sweet death, HM2, buzzsaw, guitar tone. We played a show with them a while ago. They're playing a lot of shows down south right now. They're a good band. Members of Genocide. Good stuff.
Answering a couple of questions in the chat here. Frank, that's really cool that you've got most of those originals. I just never did track those down, or when I did find them on occasion, they were always really expensive. So that's very cool that you've got a lot of those. And Ryan, I have heard the new Satan album, Earth Infernal. Actually, Frank helped hook me up with that. So thanks to Frank for that. I haven't really played it enough times to form a real tight opinion. On first listen, I do like it better than the previous album. But that's about all I can say about it on this at this point. Maybe next time we do a What's Spinning, I'll have given it enough time that I can weigh in and give some more comments. But anything I spout off now is barely a first impression, so it needs some more time. As you're going to see tonight, there's been a lot of CDs and stuff piling up, so the Satan just hasn't gotten the spins that it needs yet. But thanks to Frank for getting me set up with that one. All right, Marty, I do believe it's back over to you, sir.
Mike Pope says, glad to be here. We're glad to have you, Mike, and all 69 people. Thank you again for hanging out with us on this What's Spinning evening. Next up for me, I've been spinning this quite regularly in the car. It's a good car album. This is on Willow Tip Half with, what the fuck's the name of this? All That Was Promised. This is some pretty savage modern death metal, and instead of it being like the cavernous style that a lot of bands are playing right now, oh my god, I'm completely drawing a blank. Anyway, this band reminds me a lot of Sulphur Aeon, to be honest. Very similar dense style. There's a lot of depth. It's very brutal. The vocals are very dark, but instead of it being more I guess Sulfur Eon to me has got kind of a black metal vibe to it, maybe a slight bit. This is a little more on the modern death, technical death style, not overly technical to lose, track of song feel and substance. It's just a solid, brutal record. It's just very well composed, very well produced. You can tell there was some money in the production that went into this. It's a great record. I've been listening to it a lot. Like I said, it's a good car album. Yeah, rock that half album is epic. It is. It's a crushing album from start to finish. Leaves you kind of wanting more. But I said, if I had to lump it into something, whatever Sulfur Eon's doing, these guys could tour together, and they're a good companion band, I think. So
that's cool. What's the title of that one, Marty? I missed the album title.
It's called All That Was Promised. I picked it up off their Bandcamp page, but it's a willow tip. And these guys, I don't know where they're from. I could look it up, I guess. Hold on one second. I'll check.
You said Sulfur Eon, and that got my ears pricked up real fast. But you're
going to hear it
in the chat, and I missed something.
They are from New Jersey. They do not sound American, but that's completely cool. They've got another album that came out before called Of Rot and Ruin that came out in 2019, and this came out this year, All That Was Promised. Okay. And they have a almost exact rating on the Metal Archives, the Metal Oracle. So yeah, check that one out. It's fun.
Cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for that one for sure.
Alan.
Okay. Next we've got an oldie but a goodie that made its way into the CD player and has taken up residence there for a while now. We are talking about Disembowelment, Transcend into the Peripheral.
Classic.
Yeah, it really is. If I go long enough without playing this album, I tend to forget just how good it is. And then I put it in and I'm blown away by it all over again. Most folks are going to know this one. It's, classic Australian sort of early death doom sound, really crazy deep vocals in parts. One thing that always set it apart for me, though, too, was just, lyrically, it's very interesting. It's sad kind of stuff, but it's got this kind of weird, classical, imagery and stuff with references to things from Thebes and all that. Not necessarily the typical stuff that you expect them to sing about in death doom material. Yes, Simon, we sure did. And just early teaser for folks. Simon will be joining us next week on Heavy Metallurgy. We'll talk about that more when we do show notes at the end of the show tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just an excellent album in that style. It's a style that, again, I like, but I tend to like in small doses. The style funeral stuff, death doom, sometimes can be a little slow. Sometimes it can drag. This one never really does. Even on the longer songs, it really holds your attention well. It's just very well written, very well crafted. The vocals are just insane. The lyrics, as I said, are insane. I don't play it a ton, but whenever it comes out to get played, it gets played and replayed and replayed. This is never one of those things that I just play once and put it away. It gets played a whole bunch of times before it eventually has to return to the shelf. Yeah, if you're by chance not familiar with it and you're into that style, yeah, Disembowelment, one of those early bands that really helped cement that sound. Real shame that it's a one and done album situation. I don't know if the members went on to other projects, but reissued a couple of times on vinyl. But that was kind of it. There's demos and stuff like that. But yeah, there was never a follow-up album, strangely enough. Marty, do you know what happened to that band? Was there?
I'm sorry, I was typing and not listening.
That's okay. I was just wondering out loud what happened to Disembowelment that they never followed up with a second album.
They got involved in a ambient project called Trial of the Bow that was also put out by Relapse's subsidiary label Release. And then members of Disembowelment went on to do Inverloch, and it sounds very much like Disembowelment. In Inverloch, Inver, Inverloch.
Okay. Yeah, that rings a bell. Okay. So they just kind of moved on to other projects, and this one just got left behind. Wow. Crazy.
Okay, they were talking about beer in the case cost.
Okay, yeah, Eric and Tom, got us covered. Also, Metal Neanderthals also mentioned it. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that they just like, okay, we'll just kind of do a different band now. Wow.
And actually, I do want to mention Chromie is in the chat, and he just dropped a new Chromium Dioxide Radio video. It's a long one. It's awesome. It has our friends Eric Bauer from High Defamation TV and Aaron the Metal Theologian, and also Mickey Bananas from Grown Men Record Night, who are also on tonight streaming, usually after we do. Great fun show talking about old days of being in an arcade, and really brought back some memories for me, especially when Aaron brought back the name Aladdin's Castle, which I never would have remembered the name of that place, but it was always in the mall and so much fun.
Yeah, it's a really fun episode. If folks have not checked it out yet, definitely make sure you go watch it over on Chromium Dioxide this weekend, and give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe to his channel.
Absolutely.
He doesn't post a ton of stuff, but he posts incredibly high quality stuff, and you should take quality over quantity just about any chance you get.
Best metal channel on YouTube, hands down. All the work Chromie puts into it. Cheers to you, brother.
Yeah, this one, yeah, I thought this one was an especially well done episode. It's like you said, it's a longer episode, so a ton of work went into it, I'm sure, but it's really, really fun.
Okay, I'm up next.
You are.
You know what? I bought this album a while ago, and I've spun it all the way through once, and every time I go to spin it again, I get about halfway and get distracted on it, but it's back in my stack. I started spinning it again and got halfway, but it's really good. This is Refuge with what the hell's the name of it? Solitary Men. This is PV from Rage getting back together with the original members from their power trio era, which Secrets in a Weird World, Trapped, the few albums that came before that. I don't know the whole, but it's their most popular era of the band. They were a power trio with these other two guys. They got back together. For some reason, they changed the name from Rage to Refuge, which was the name of Rage before they changed the name. Something, I don't remember the whole story, but it sounds like Rage. They're super catchy choruses. PV's got a very unique writing style, and it's a solid record. It's kind of long, and like I said, I get halfway and I always get turned on to something else or have to do something else. But fun record. I just need to spend more time with it. That's why it's been in my stack. So check out the Refuge if you like Rage. This does not sound any different from Rage. So if you see this sitting on the shelf, it's essentially another Rage album with the most popular lineup that was ever in the band, essentially, as far as album sales goes.
That's really funny because when you held it up and said the name, I didn't recognize the name, but I thought to myself, that looks a lot like a Rage album.
Well, look at the logo. I mean, the logo is, and then, of course, you got PV in the center there. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense that it would look like a Rage album because it kind of is. Yeah, and I remembered that PV was doing another project, but I did not remember the name. I couldn't have told you if you'd asked me.
No, it wasn't Eric. It wasn't Pee Wee. It was the band. The main guy in Refuge and Rage is PV. That's not his real name, but that's what everybody calls him. Anyway,
what was the name of the band one more time, Marty?
Rage, Refuge.
Ah, you said the secret word. Ah!
All right, it's you, Alan.
Okay, I picked this one up a while back. I'd seen this one for a while, and for whatever reason, I never got around to picking it up. It always looked kind of interesting, played a few clips, sounded kind of interesting, but I was like, I don't know, it may not turn out to be that good. Maybe I'll pass. And so eventually, Amazon points eventually pile up, and you feel like you need to use some of them for something. It's like, hey, okay, this isn't too much. Let's go and pick this up and see what it is. And I'm glad I did, because it's actually turned out to be quite good. It is the second album by Numenorian called Adore. Came out a couple of years ago. It's on Season of Mist. It is a Canadian sort of post-black metal project. A little hard to describe. In reading a couple of reviews and stuff about the band, they are doing, I guess, sort of a mixture of shoegaze, black gaze, titles with gaze and genres with gaze kind of mixed in, which, yeah, makes sense when you listen to it. And they do it incredibly well. It's not a subgenre I'm very familiar with. I know some projects have had some success and visibility with it, stuff like Death Heaven. I don't know much about those bands. I haven't avoided them. I just really haven't ever checked them out. But finally went ahead and picked this one up, and it's a really beautifully put together album. It's got the harsher, faster elements at times. It's interwoven really seamlessly with a lot of cleaner and more melodic parts. And yes, I kind of get where they're pulling the shoegaze elements from. There are times, it doesn't sound exactly like a Cure record, but you can definitely hear that could be an influence on those sections. So I kind of get where those descriptions are coming from. But the thing that's most impressive about it all to me is that it all blends together and is balanced just perfectly. Sometimes with this kind of black metal, not this, post black metal gaze stuff in particular, but when these bands start trying to incorporate a lot of different influences into every song, for me, a lot of times the songs become a little jerky. That you got the fast part, and suddenly you go to the slow part, and suddenly you're right back into a fast part, and that's not something I've ever been into. It's one reason I was never a big Opeth fan. I saw Between the Buried and Me early in their career, and it was the same thing. They'd play fast for a minute, and then all of a sudden it was just like you slam on the brakes and play slow for a couple of minutes, and it didn't work for me structuring the songs that way. When Numenorian is doing that, really, it's a very smooth transition every time. You don't notice, those breaks until they're already happening. So everything's just crafted very well. They've got, a few songs. There's, some shorter tracks in between. Some of them are just like kind of shorter, almost folky acoustic, 2 minutes. But they help break up the flow of the album also, so that it doesn't just become like one long, slower, darkened, romanticized, gothic-y, gazy, whatever. They did a good job of mixing things up and making sure that, they didn't get stuck in a rut at any point. So I've been really impressed with the album. It's been getting a lot of spins over the past couple of weeks since it came in. Sadly, the band is no more. They did an album before this that had a very controversial album cover, and because it showed photos of a dead child from a sort of famous murder case back in the 70s, if I remember right. I remember the name in passing. And then after this, I think it was in 2021, the guitarist announced he was leaving the band and effectively dissolving it because a couple of the other members had been accused of some pretty nasty sexual assault stuff. And thus was the end of Numenorian. And it's a real shame. If those people did that kind of thing, obviously that's hugely scummy. I can't blame other people for not wanting to be involved with that anymore whatsoever. But the band had crafted something really special on this album, I think. And it is a shame that they're not going to be able to follow up and develop that even further. Because I really do like this album. Just has such a beautiful sound to it. It's not too sad. It doesn't get completely sad sack, woe is me kind of stuff. It doesn't get too aggressive or too blackened. It's so well balanced on everything that it's trying to do. I feel like they just got it perfectly centered and built this really magnificent creation that again, maybe there are a lot of other bands doing this and doing it even better, and I just don't know it because it's not a niche I've ever explored very much. But this has been a real mainstay in the playlist for a few weeks now. Really, really like the Numenorian album, and it's a shame that we won't see another one, but maybe the guitarist can put together a new lineup and do something in the same vein. That'll be interesting too.
Yeah, that band is a band. When they came out, that album cover, I gotta say, there's not a lot of things that offend me, and that album cover really bugged the shit out of me. I didn't like looking at it. I didn't like anything about it. Everybody was telling me how much I'd like them, and I could honestly give a shit. If you're gonna put, I don't care the thoughts and meaning behind it. It's someone's dead kid, and it really bugged the shit out of me. And I've had people tell me I'd like that album too, and I just won't listen to it because fuck them. They put a dead kid on their cover, and it bugs me. I don't know. Like I said, I can take a lot of shit, but that bugs. Ugh, it's rough.
I have heard the same thing from other folks that, they're not squeamish. They're not, opposed to a lot of stuff, but yeah, that first album cover really did touch a nerve with a lot of people because, it wasn't a staged piece. It wasn't an artistic piece. It was, I guess what they had done was taken like a crime scene photograph and obviously sort of, done some digital manipulation, overlays, photoshopped it or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was, still the original scene of this, little kid that had been, viciously murdered, stabbed a huge number of times.
And the thing that made it even sadder was when, when she passed and relaxed, it looks like she's smiling in it. And, they're talking about the innocence. I read a thing in the interview, the innocence of death and innocence of blah, all the meaning. I don't care what the fucking meaning is behind it. It was someone's little kid and she was beautiful. And it just turned my guts, man. It was rough.
Yeah.
But, if you like that, like the album, great. For people out there, everybody's got their line and that's just mine.
Yep. Understandable. Yep.
But, okay. Let's go to something. I bought this for $3 at FYE, which in my town is a dying store. It looks like a Spencer's. You walk in there, they got shirts and little statues and $50 wrinkled up records, and got this for $3. Sonata Arctica with I don't know, something in Finnish. Tal Vio. This came out in 2019. Man, this album sucks. I'm down with power metal, but this album, and I've heard a lot of people talking. This band has their moments early on. They've got some good power metal records. This is just really uninspired sounding to me. It's all very kind of even keel, a little too frail for me, I guess. There's not a lot of bombast to it. It's just kind of, I need to spend a little more time with it. First impression was kind of poor, so I don't know how much I'm going to dig back into it. Mel might be getting this one, so this might be in the next box for Mel. Maybe she'll appreciate it more than I have. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the guy's vocals. They're kind of weak to me. We'll see. I mean, yeah, yes, Wilson, I am Finnish, mixed with some other stuff, but predominantly Finnish. So does that mean I should I should know Finnish words? I don't. Anyway, Mel's smiling. Okay. Well, it's probably coming your way, Mel. So get ready. Anyway. Yep. This, anybody that wants to point me in the direction of a good Sonata Arctica, it'd be kind of cool to check out, but yeah, well, wrong or right, doesn't matter. This one didn't click with me. This seemed very kind of run of the mill. So yeah, they can't all be winners, right, Alan? They can't all be winners.
No, I've got some tonight that I'll probably, if I get to that point in the stack, that are a little weak for me too. Sonata Arctica is a weird one. And yes, Melissa does like a lot of their albums, but even she, there's some she doesn't care for either. They do the European power metal thing fairly well, but they do feel like one of the sort of lighter. They're at the lighter end of the spectrum, and it can be, a little too light. I think they are the kind of band a lot of people think of as the stereotype for European power metal being a little too wimpy or wussy sometimes. Sonata Arctica could, definitely be the poster child for that in some ways. They do have some good songs along the way, but they are very lightweight sounding a lot of the time. I like some of their stuff, but overall, not a personal favorite band, although they do have some good stuff here and there.
Right. Okay. Alan, what is your next pick?
All right. Up next, something newer that came out. This is Sadistic Rituals' new album.
I need to get that checked out.
All right. The Enigma Boundless. Now, this is something, if I had just seen this on the shelf at the record store, I would not even have stopped to look at it.
No, it's very unassuming.
Based on that cover, I would have assumed that's probably one of them Boris-like bands. I'll just keep flipping by. Probably not my style. But the reason I did stop and pick it up was Kellen over on the Killing for Company channel had talked about this album in one of his recent videos, and described it very favorably. So I had gone over to their Bandcamp page, played some clips, and was really impressed with it. And so I had, marked it on the, to buy later Bandcamp wish list thing. But then when I went to the local record store, a couple of days later, flipping through stuff, there it was. It's like, oh, I know what that is, and that's actually pretty good. So yeah, I'll just pick it up on CD here at the store instead. And yeah, really good. It's an Atlanta band. Style's a little hard to describe. It's got a thrash, skeleton to it. The vocals, though, have a strong black metal leaning rasp. And it's also got death metal leanings at the same time in the music. The solos are really thrash metal inspired. I think Testament in particular. Oops, I think Marty stepped away. Hopefully, I'm still talking. I want to keep talking, assuming that I'm still on. But so yeah, it's a really weird mix of kind of black, hoarse, raspy black metal vocals, very aggressive, riffing and rhythms, and just these shredding guitar leads all kind of spliced together, and it makes for a very kind of loud, in your face type of presentation. But it's definitely not black and speed metal. This is not doing the same thing that a band like Demiser that I talked about earlier is doing. This is its own monster. And it's got, it's a very savage sound. The guitars are very vicious in tone. It works pretty well. I'm still getting used to this one, still spinning this one. So I can't go really deep on a lot of it yet, but they've got kind of a unique little niche, and I do like what they are doing. They seem to be doing it pretty well. The lead work is incredible. And just, the real sharp riffing style fits too. So it feels like a thrash album, but it feels like sort of a very different, newer type of thrash album, which is what Kellen was showing it off for. Was like sort of hey, here's a thrash band that's doing thrash in a different way, and it works pretty well. In terms of lyrically, they're a little hard to decipher. They've got kind of a weird mix of occultish stuff, but also technology. It's almost like a weird technomancy vibe going on. So a little bit of it's demony, a little bit of it is like paranoia about the surveillance state, which you can get a lot of that from some of the cover image with all the cameras and eyes and stuff going on. The cover makes it look very psychedelic and trippy, and I don't really get that kind of vibe from it. Maybe with more plays, I'll start to pick up on some of that if it's hidden in there. But yeah, it's actually a pretty savage, pretty intense listen, but in a really neat style. So if that sounds interesting, hop over to Bandcamp, give it some spins. You can pick it up there or can track it down. It's on Prosthetic Records, which is a label I've heard of, but I don't know much about. So it showed up at the local store, picked it up, and glad I did. So thanks to Kellen for mentioning that one. Because yeah, it definitely would. I would never have even paused as I flipped through the CD rack if I didn't know what it was already.
Yep, it's on my list. I need to check it out. Kellen's recommendation came pretty highly, so I'm gonna definitely check that one out for sure.
Good deal. All right, Marty, what you got next? I'm going to catch up in the chat over here and see what folks are discussing.
Hey, someone just recommended Gutto. I recommend the Finnish power metal band Thunderstone. Very underrated. Didn't I just send you that CD, Alan?
No, you sent me something else, similar name, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But
okay, right on. That album was really good. I just didn't know if I'd listen to it much, so I figured you'd appreciate it maybe a bit more than.
Well, I'll touch on that pretty soon. But I've heard of Thunderstone, but I have never listened to their music, so I don't know what they sound.
Okay, next up for me. While I was in FYE, I decided to pick up the new Creator, and for me, I really liked the last album, but it just doesn't feel like Creator. It had a very melodic Swedish metal feel to it. It's good. I don't have a lot of return to it. And this here, Hate Uber Alice, Hate Overall. It's good, man. I like it better than I thought I would, and it's getting a bit of shade online. Is this old Creator? No, it's not. That ship has sailed. They've evolved to the point where they're playing A more melodic style that's still aggressive, but it really fits in perfectly with the European vibe these days. It's, you know, obviously they're a legacy band. They're going to be on all the festivals, and the music they're writing really suits that era well. There's a lot of, you know, choruses that are meant to get the fist pumping in the crowd shouting along the chorus, but there's songs on this album that really remind me of older Creator. There's some really pretty cool aggressive thrash riffs on here. There's a couple songs where there's a lady that comes on and does some singing. She's got a good voice. It's kind of a different vibe for Creator, but it works. Her and Milla singing along together. I guess I can see why the more, you know, tried and true purists are like, you know, whatever, modern Creator, it's boring, whatever. But I'm surprised, man. I liked it a bit better than the last album. I like the cover. It's like the same guy that did Elran. I can't remember his name. He did the Halloween cover. Same dude. But I like it. Has it got a lot of staying power? I don't know yet. That's to be determined. And I'm still trying to absorb this stuff. Killer of Jesus, Crush the Tyrants. Midnight Sun was a good one. Yeah, it's got the other singer on here, but it's really aggressive riffing. There's some cool shit on here. I like it. Some great solos. A little less melodic than the last one. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. It's one that has not gotten widely positive reviews. It has gotten some pretty lukewarm reviews from different channels. But yeah, some folks in the chat are also commenting that they like it and kind of agree with you. They don't see why it isn't getting the love. I haven't heard it, so and I'm not really familiar with new Creator at all, so I've got no horse in this race.
And really, their progression, it needed to happen. I mean, if a band's gonna, you know, continue on for all this time, you can't put out Extreme Aggression or Pleasure to Kill every album. I mean, for all the decades they've been together, you know, that's why those albums are so special, because they were a snapshot in time. You know, they're a snapshot of the scene at that time. You know, nowadays, you know, metal is, I mean, as of me, you know, playing a show last night, seeing a lot of people coming out of the woodwork wearing, you know, metal is survived and it's growing and its fan base is growing. It's young. There's still a lot of young people that are just discovering this stuff. And, you know, Creator, to stay with the times, had to, you know, evolve. You get different members in the band, and if you know, have better players, your music's going to progress naturally. So I dig it, man. I don't know, is it, you know, going to rank up there with Pleasure to Kill or Extreme Aggression for me? No, but it's a hell of a lot better than Endorama or, you know, the middle era albums where they were lost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Alan, you're next.
All right. Yeah, let me jump over to the one that we alluded to a minute ago. So it wasn't Thunderstone, but yeah, Marty sent me this Thunder Slave, which is a band from Mexico operating very much the new wave of traditional heavy metal style. And it's funny because I actually, not too long ago, a couple of months, had picked up their first full-length album and thought it was pretty good, and saw that, oh, they have an EP too. I guess I'll keep an eye out for that. And then, yeah, Marty threw it in with a couple of CDs he sent down my way. So it's like, oh, well, hey, there it is. That takes care of that one. And yeah, the EP is actually quite good too. It's probably actually slightly better than the album, at least on first listen. This is, again, there's not too much to say here. You know, bands from Mexico, it's new wave of traditional heavy metal. So it's, you know exactly what you're going to get with this release. They are on the more energetic end of the spectrum for this style, not as, powerful as, say, Riot City, but, a little more up-tempo, a little more punch, than maybe some bands of this style. Lyrics are all, very straightforward. It's, beer, metal, hot chicks, more beer, more metal. They're not touching on, the deep, socioeconomic and political issues of our time, and you wouldn't expect them to. That's not what bands in this style are doing whatsoever. So, it's, pretty short and simple. If you like, newer bands doing this, style of early 80s heavy metal, the pre-thrash, pre-glam kind of days, and you don't mind it, just, if you're not into it, you're going to think it's kind of generic or that it's, it's a has-been. But if you don't mind hearing new bands take a stab at that and doing a pretty good job of it, then yeah, the Thunderslave self-titled EP, it's got, let's see, it's 6 tracks, it's 5 originals, and has a cover of Trial by Fire, the classic Satan track from their Court in the Act album. And that gives you a pretty good idea of like where they're coming from. If you want to hear bands, doing that kind of stuff, then yeah, Thunderslave, you can certainly do worse. They're not original. I'm not going to claim they're the greatest band in this style, but I do like both the releases I've heard by this band. So hopefully they'll do more in the future. Thanks for sending it down, Marty. It's a cool list.
Yeah, I bought something off of someone on eBay. And when my order came in the package, that CD was with it. They included it brand new. I'm like, wow, cool. Then I listened to it. I liked it. And I'm like, okay. But I just don't see it coming off the rack much. I'm like, I'm going to send this to someone a little more qualified for the job, I think.
Yeah. If folks are interested in checking out something like this, this one, or I'm not getting them mixed up, but yeah, this one's done at least in part by a label called Hoof Child Records. They have a storefront on Discogs, with this and other stuff, and their CDs are really cheap. A lot of them are like $5 a piece. So at that point, if you're the least bit interested, you're not risking a whole lot, for $5 to check out some of their stuff. And they've got a couple of pretty good CDs. I've ordered directly from them on Discogs a couple of times and gotten several CDs, and like most of the stuff that I've picked up from them. So the costs are low. They ship them really fast. And I mean, for $5, you're not going to find it any cheaper than that. So you can always check them out over there if you're interested in a little bit of new wave of traditional heavy metal.
And my son is in the chat, everybody. Say hi to Parker.
Hey, Parker. How are we doing tonight?
Okay. Next up for me, kind of an oldie but a fun one. This came out in, oh my gosh, 1989, year I graduated high school, and it is Midas Touch, Presage of Disaster. Swedish band, thrash band with pseudo death leanings and the heaviness in the guitars. Don't say hi, I don't want attention. Well, hi, bud. I still see you, and I just wanted to say hi. Anyway, this came out on Noise. Kind of a heavier band for Noise, but still in the thrash realm. I don't think these guys got a ton of love, but I always kind of like this record. I like some of the songwriting. The vocalist has got kind of a rough and tumble type of vocal talking style, kind of a thrashy talking style. And it always worked for me. Good songs. Terminal Breath was always a favorite. That was on a Doomsday News comp, I think the second one. Good song. Forcibly Incarcerated, good song. True Believers, good song. I mean, solid. If you can dig this up, I got it for $7.99 in a used bin somewhere. I bought the tape when it came out because it had Noise Records logo on it back in the day, but good album. I enjoy it. Is it going to blow you away? No, but solid record indeed. Oh man, that cover is rough. It's rough. Yeah, but anyway,
I've always passed on that one because of the cover, so I don't really know much about the band.
Parker, love you, bud. Anyway, Alan, you're next.
All right, another newer release. We've got some. If I remember right, these guys are French. Weird black metal. Blut aus Nord with their latest one, which again, you get the title right. We've got Disharmonium, Undreamable Abysses. So it's a mouthful. Cool cover art on the slipcase. It is, to no one's surprise, once you look at it for a minute, a Lovecraft-inspired album. Lots of Elder Deep Ones kind of things going on here. Blut aus Nord, of course, have been around for a long time. I don't know much about their catalog. I only started checking them out a year or two ago when Ben over on the Brain Smasher channel was talking about their previous album, which was Hallucination, something. A bunch of mushrooms on the cover, and the title has vaguely got the word hallucinate in it. Sorry for butchering that. He talked really, glowingly about it. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll check this out. And I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. So when this came out, again, it happened to be at the local store upon release. It's like, sure, I'll check it out. It's a really interesting listen. Doesn't necessarily sound that much like the previous album. It's got a very weird sound, but weird in a good way. After the first couple of listens, it was a real head scratcher just trying to figure out. I'm not sure exactly what the hell I'm listening to. It's got a lot of, atmospheric, ambient black metal-ish stuff going on, but it's really hard to pick things out. It's got a real kind of, everything kind of swirls together a lot. There were tracks where I'm just like, I'm having a hard time even picking up if the guy is singing in this part of the song, or if that's just like another part of the ambiance that they've, programmed into the background somehow. What the hell's going on? So, reading up a little bit more on it with some other reviews and stuff, that's actually exactly what they were trying to do. Apparently, the band was experimenting a lot with production on this album and seeing how they could, really mess with, the instrument sounds in the production phase of the album. So a lot of it is, taking the lead guitar and really, really messing with it. Again, I'm not a musician. I'm not an engineer for sound. I cannot describe all the technical details of what's going on. But yeah, apparently they very intentionally wanted to see what they could do to their music, just experimenting with different production tools. And it creates a very interesting soundscape. It's not an easy listen. You've got to kind of pay attention. But it doesn't just gloss by either. You can still really, there's elements you can kind of, latch onto. You can see what they're doing in terms of song structures and such. It's just a very weird, mix of things. It literally is at times you're like, I don't know if the guy is singing a little bit in the background. Is there chanting in the background? Is there something different going on in the background? It's a very unusual listen, but I have found it a cool listening experience. From that description, it may sound like a bit of a turnoff to some folks. It's like, I don't know what the hell is going on with that. But it's actually worth checking out. The band seems to have a pretty long-standing good reputation for putting out interesting albums that are very different from one another over time, and I guess this is following along in that tradition. So yeah, if you want to hear Blutas Norse go completely ham on production values, trying to create something that sounds like a soundtrack to Lovecraft's ancient elder deep ones. The new album does that fairly well. It's a very interesting listen. I'm glad I picked it up, even though it is a hard one to describe and not the easiest thing to listen to. So, Blutas Norse fans can give a much better description and explanation of what's going on with this one. Hopefully, that's what some of the comments are doing popping up here. But it's a cool album. At the end of the day, I definitely give it a good thumbs up. I do like it quite a bit.
Right on. All right, next one for me is a band I've long missed out on, and researching their catalog, it's quite extensive. So my jumping in point was cheap. I said I'm going to check out an album cheaply, and I end up liking it. This is Brainstorm's Ambiguity. German band, heavy metal band. They're just really solid songwriters. They don't reinvent the wheel. They don't do anything overly, I don't want to say interesting. that puts it in a negative context, but they're just a very solid metal band from Germany, and they got a really good singer, a lot of power and bite in the songs, good songwriting. Like I said, I saw a couple of videos. I'm like, wow. And the singer has done some other collaborations with other bands that I like. And I'm always like, I got to check those guys out. I was alarmed to see how long the discography was. I'm like, oh God, do I want to fall down this rabbit hole and, just start buying stuff? But, I bought this record cause I got it for like $7.99 or whatever on eBay. It was a good jump on in point. I haven't listened to it a bunch, but, I've spun it about 3 times and I've enjoyed it. It's good. It's solid. It's heavy. I don't want to say it's straight up power metal. It doesn't have that driving double bass all the time. There's a lot of There's a lot of dynamics here. It's just a really solid metal band. I dig it. Good stuff. Are you familiar with the band, Alan?
I am familiar with them. I haven't checked them out in a long time. I got one of their albums like in a CDR trade early 2000s, and it was okay, but it felt a little generic to me. I played it several times, nothing would ever stand out. So yeah, it just got eventually sidelined. But again, I don't even remember which album that was. It would have been somewhere around 2004, 2005. So I didn't even know they were still sort of a going thing. But yeah, that's cool. Maybe I need to give them another chance with some newer material.
What year did this come out? This came out in 2000. So I mean, it's 22 years old. This is an old.
It was that album. Okay, maybe they're not still around. I don't know.
They
But yeah,
did.
it wasn't
They
the
did just
album
put
you
out a
think
new
of.
album this year or last year, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is not a Child Saint shirt. This is a Gouge shirt. It's a 2-man death metal band from Norway. They're really solid. Good stuff.
It really does look like the cover of the Child Saint 12-inch EP or 12-inch single. It really does.
Beyond the cover of their Beyond Death album. It's good. Good album.
Give me just a second. Let me pull the album that folks are referencing because it's a little bit of an obscure one. Folks may not know it. Give me just a sec here.
Yeah, right on. Thank you again, everybody. We got 70 people watching. It's totally cool. Thank you so much. It's great having you guys hang out with us every week. We really, really appreciate the support. It's awesome to have y'all. Thank you so much. Yep, here it comes. The Alan flex.
Yeah, so someone else made the exact same comment earlier about Child Saint, and yeah, I was laughing then. So here's the one they're talking about.
Oh, right on.
So yep, yeah, it's a 12-inch EP, California band, if I remember right. Got kind of a little bit of a doomy sound to them. Really cool one. I like it quite a bit. Hadn't pulled it out in a long time, but yeah, got that same little bit similarity there to it.
All right. Oop, sorry, you're up still.
All right, let's do another new wave of British heavy metal one that's been hanging out, and I may have mentioned this one in some other videos recently. Someone recommended this to me a while back in the comments on one of my videos, and I apologize. I have dug and dug and dug through comments on older videos trying to figure out who mentioned this, and I just cannot find the original comment to save my life. I literally spent like 45 minutes one day trying to find that comment, and I don't know where it came up. There's no good search feature for it. But anyway, the album they recommended was this one, and I'd heard the band's name and passed on it because it sounded kind of generic, and it's a little bit later in the decade. But I did go and play it on YouTube, and I was instantly blown away, so I had to track it down. It's a band called Trojan with an album called Chasing the Storm.
Trojan Man.
Yeah. Trojan doesn't exactly inspire you to think, yeah, that's going to be a killer heavy metal band. But it is. This, interestingly, it's an early Roadrunner release. Roadrunner not known for putting out a lot of new wave of British heavy metal, but they did have a couple of bands in their stable kind of later in the game, 84, 85, 86-ish. And apparently, Trojan was one that they picked up that, a couple of the other bands, had misfired on their second album. I think Spartan Warrior was one of them. The first album did okay. The second album didn't do as hot, and so Roadrunner was hoping to find kind of the hot new thing. And sorry, Rick. I guess I'm a little premature with this one. But so yeah, the band got picked up. They had been building some hype on the local scene, and got picked up by Roadrunner. Put out this album, and it is a real barn burner. It is leaning into that, sort of post new wave of British heavy metal era where, for one thing, it definitely has the shitty kind of production of those, later bands. There was something about production in the UK for bands starting around 85, 86, 87, where I guess nobody was willing to pay the money to give these albums a great production. They always sound kind of hollow or tinny. Nevertheless, this is an excellent album. It's very fast. It's leaning at times in more of a speed metal direction, more power metal direction than your classic new wave of British heavy metal. This is a far cry from early Saxon or stuff like that. Really anthemic songs, high powered. I don't know. take something like Hibria. Marty, I know you're familiar with the excellent Hibria from South America.
Yeah.
Take something like them, but transport them back in time about 20 years earlier. Make them a UK band and give them a typical mid 80s UK production. You're kind of getting the vibe of what Trojan were doing here. It's a very powerful, very forceful album in that early. It's got, again, as much to do with like early power speed stuff as it does new wave of British heavy metal stuff. The bitch of it, of course, is the album being an old Roadrunner album is now kind of hard to track down and kind of expensive. And I'd been checking Discogs and eBay every week, hoping a copy would pop up in the US for a reasonable price. Overseas shipping was just pushing the album way too high. And then one day, lo and behold, well, it just got reissued on CD as a 2 CD set.
Wow.
Just like, hey, sometimes things work out. I will take that one. So the bonus CD is a live show. The track list is almost exactly the album track list. There's maybe like one song they didn't do or something. There's one bonus track from a comp. So it really, if you're into live shows, that's cool. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of bonus material here. But it is a good way to check out a really, really overlooked album that had a really terrific sound. It's just a shame they didn't get better production on the album, and the band ended up sort of having the typical lineup in these. Some of them ended up working in another project. The name it's Talon. They ended up reinventing themselves as a band called Talon that did an album later in the 80s also. So they got a little more mileage out of their
I have that on
career.
tape. What's the name of that album?
I don't remember offhand. I can look it up in a minute. Or maybe someone in the chat, Frank, if Frank's in the chat, or Aaron might remember what the name of the Talon album is. But yeah, it's a cool one. It's one I had never heard of. And to whoever recommended it to me, thank you. And I'm terribly sorry. I have really honestly tried to track that comment back down so I could send you a thank you. I don't know which video it was in. It must have been a video that had nothing to do with new wave of British heavy metal whatsoever, because I have dug and just cannot find it. But yeah, Talon Chasing the Storm. It's just come out a couple of months ago as a recent CD reissue. Pick it up. It's a nice listen. Is it the best thing ever recorded? No. Is it the most original thing? No. But if you like, with the fast simple metal from that mid 80s style that's not leaning into thrash, it's not leaning into glam, it's just it's proto power metal played at a pretty fast clip. It's really good. I like it a lot.
It's kind of funny. My son comes on and says, did the Trojan football team turn themselves into a heavy metal band? It's funny because the high school here in town, or the football team, is called the Traverse City Trojans. So
yep,
Class A school.
A lot of ways you can go with Trojan. Not a half bad cover either. I'm going to say for an album from that.
Looks like Vincent Price wearing a helmet.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of the weird Odinish thing going on there. But I'll give the cover art even a thumbs up. And a lot of the British bands in that era, they were not getting a lot of support when it came to packaging, production, promotion. The little things that go into making an album and helping a band actually survive and thrive.
Okay. Next for me is a couple CDs that Alan sent me that I've listened to twice each. This one in particular, I was very impressed with. This Wuthering Heights CD. What the hell is it called?
Salt.
Yes. A very poetic band. There's like a lot. I think a lot of this stuff is based on literature. I have not read any of the lyrics. There's some musical themes spun throughout this that call back to some songs I've heard in the past. I don't know exactly, not like metal songs, but like epic type soundtracky things. I don't know exactly. I can't put my finger on it, but the guy's a great singer.
Mm-hmm.
A really warm bluesy tone, but the clean pitch style. Really good solid metal, well written. Very deep. It's a very deep album. I've really enjoyed this one. This one's really, really good. It's on a label I've never heard of called Sensory.
Yeah, I've picked up a couple of things by them over the years, but don't know much about the label.
Yeah, I guess you could put it in the power metal sphere. It's it's just a good metal record. These guys US, I would say they probably are.
No, they're somewhere in the United Kingdom. It's not.
Shows you what I know.
Again, my UK geography is terrible. I don't remember if they're Irish, Scottish, in one of those.
Yeah, I mean, remember my words, like marks from a whip. This old salt will go down with the ship. I mean, it's very literature based. I dig it. Like I said, I have not invested a ton of time with it yet because I've been busy and had a bunch of other stuff to listen to, but I really took to this one quite quickly. And this one too. He also sent this Seven Kingdoms. I can't read it.
I believe it's a self-titled, if I remember right.
Seven Kingdoms. Yeah, it is. This is pretty solid power metal. I'm still a little on the fence on the singer. It's a lady singer, and I'm really picky when it comes to lady singers. She's not bad. She does not have a lot of dynamics. She's very kind of even keel in her performance, which I would like to hear a bit more swing, a little bit more peaks and valleys in her style, but she's solid. She gets the job done, and this is a pretty solid record. They got a new album out. I saw a video the other day. It seems very glammy. I was kind of surprised.
They've put out some weird singles from that album. Yeah. So it's I'm not sure what's going on with that one.
Yeah, I'm a little apprehensive to check it out, but this was a cool start. And I know there's another one you've shown that you like that's got like these mythical creatures on it. I've seen that online a bit. I'm kind of interested in checking it out. I know you and Mel are very much into that one, so I'm probably going to check that out. This was very cool. It definitely piqued. This band is, after hearing Alan talk about it on his channel, has piqued my interest, and he helped me wade into the Seven Kingdoms discography with this one, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Both of these are good albums. This one in particular, really, really good. Really, this is one that's gonna, with time, really become something that remains in my playlist, I think.
Yeah, glad to hear it. And yeah, if folks, just a little follow up on the Wuthering Heights there, like Marty said, kind of a very literary band. Lyrically, the guy writes, similar to like a Martin Walker type, very, strong, literary background, very eloquent, very poetic. A lot of people compare the vocalist to Dio, which I get what they're trying to say. I don't think he sounds, he's not a Dio clone, but kind of sings in that same mid range quite a bit. But yeah, really excellent musicianship. They use some different folky elements here and there. Maybe there's some comparisons to early, the very first Skyclad record, but not thrashy, much more in the power metal tradition. But yeah. It's a cool one. I'm glad you like it.
Got into Wuthering Heights through the show a year back, and now I love them. Thank you, Professor. Yes, Alan has turned me out to a lot of killer stuff.
That's good to hear. The first, we'll warn folks, now the first couple of Wuthering Heights albums have a different vocalist on them. And in my opinion, those albums are a bit flat. I don't think they, had the strongest vocal presence. The current vocalist came along on, I'm pretty sure it was album number 3. They've done at least 3 albums with that vocalist. Salt, unless they've put out something very recently, Salt is the most recent, and it's 10 years old at this point. The main songwriter guitarist had major hand wrist issues for several years, so he had to kind of put the project on hold while he did physical therapy, surgery, and stuff. So hopefully they'll get something new out in the near future. But yeah, if you like the band a lot, definitely start with the newer albums and work your way back, but understand that those first 2 albums are going to have a different vocalist, and that does have a big impact on their sound.
It's a hard time keeping up with you guys in the chat. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I'm trying.
Same here. Yeah, it's especially not easy with just the 2 of us, because you talk for a couple of minutes, you try to jump over and comment, and then you got to be ready to hop back in for the next turn.
Yep. And speaking of turns, it's yours.
It is. All right. So next up, this is something that Austin mentioned. Austin Lunn, last time we had him on, talking black metal stuff, and not necessarily a black metal project, but sort of more of a. One of the bands apparently has changed over the years, but this was one of their more recent ones. And as he described it, it sounded interesting to me. It's the band Funeral. This is the Norwegian Funeral. I'm sure there are other funerals out there. The album's called... I picked a lot of albums with pain in the ass titles tonight.
Yeah, swirly fonts.
Praesentialius in Eternum. I'm just going to hold it up there, and you can read it for yourselves. It's their most recent one, just a couple of years back. And just the way Austin describes it, like, that sounds quite interesting. And the band's name rang a bell. So I poked around on it some and realized it was a band that, again, Ben had featured over on the Brain Smasher channel. It may have been a year or more ago by now. Time flies. But he had been talking about their very first album from back around 1995. It has the cover. A lot of folks have seen it before. It's one of those bad mid 90s covers with like a lady's face superimposed in a big flower, and it just doesn't quite get there. But yeah, the album's become one of those kind of underground classics over time. And the band has done, I guess, a lot of albums, but they've kind of changed styles over time. And this was another case where I was, picking up, some books for my little boy on Amazon, needed something, I needed one more thing to get the free shipping. It's always about getting the free shipping. And actually I'd say, like, what the hell, I'll type this in. And sure enough, they had it. And it was just like a normal CD price. I was like, oh, I would not have thought I'd find that on Amazon, but since I did.
Yeah, the vinyl price is not cheap, especially with international shipping. I'm like, whoa, no thanks.
Yeah. So, so I picked it up that way. I've played it a couple of times. First impression has been a little lukewarm, I've got to say. This is one, and it's not the album, it's me. I'm not quite in the mood for this style right now, because what this album is, on
Funeral Doom, isn't it?
It's got some Funeral Doom elements, but it's actually more epic doom. But not, it leans a lot more Candlemass than anything like Winter or Skepticism. But the band is actually most similar to, and it took me, again, a couple of listens to pin it down. There's a Swedish band called Isolé that has done several albums. They're a doom band. They go for that kind of bigger epic sound, something like, a Candlemass, very clean vocals. But their albums always feel a little boring. And I always have a hard time pinning down why. They do everything very well on I had 2 or 3 of the Isley albums. The musicianship is good. The production is good. The songwriting, it's all fine. But I get to the end of the album, I'm just like, well, that was a bit of a slug. I don't think I want to play that again right now.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of having the same reaction to Funeral on first impression. But part of it is I'm just not in the mood for this kind of style of, slowish, doom with these, kind of, big, epic vocals. They sing in Norwegian, which is fine, but that is something that it takes me a little while longer to get into bands when they're singing in something I don't understand, because I am one of those people that like to look at the lyrics and figure out what the hell they're singing about. Some of the songs tend to get pretty long, and when you're playing this kind of mid-pace doom for 10-minute songs, and it's got these kind of these a little bit like almost like the Viking epic, chanting choiry vocals. It can just feel like it takes a long time to get through, and it's not one of them. If you notice, compared to the other stuff I've been showing tonight, nothing else is really in this realm at all, except maybe the Disembowelment, which again vocally is completely at the other end of the spectrum. So I want to put this on the shelf. But when I'm in the mood for this style, I want to come back and give it a better chance. I think it will get there with more listens, but I need to be in the mood for this style before. There's no point in me continuing to play this right now, because it's not what I want to hear right now. So Funeral is going to have to wait for another day. We'll do for funerals to come in the future.
I get what you're saying, man. I mean, Doom, I love it. I think it's great. It's a big part of my teenage years, 90s era for sure. But I'm rarely in the mood for it. When I'm in the mood for it, it's typically not in a really great place for sure. But yeah, I mean, I have a place in my heart for it, and that's another reason why when he commented on that, he's been on me in chat also. We talk every day almost, and tell me, you gotta get this. And I just went to buy the record. I'm like, whoa, overseas shipping and the price is probably, isn't it like a 3 LP set? I don't remember. It's got
to be at least a double LP set, as long as it is. Yeah, but yeah. Again, I think it's going to get there. Isolé never quite got there for me, but this one I can already tell. Like the songcraft is stronger than what Isolé was doing. So or maybe are still doing. I didn't follow up after. I figured 3 albums was enough to buy by a band that I wasn't enjoying. So
Yeah.
Isolé I haven't kept up with. And again, I've always felt weird about not liking that band because I like Doom and I do actually listen to it pretty regularly. I don't have to be in the bad mood for Doom. I just like the style. But yeah, that band for some reason just never fully clicked. I think Funeral will get over the top when I get back in that kind of not just a doomy mood, but the longer, slower doomy mood with the clean vocals on top of it. All right, Marty, enough Funeral. What you got next?
Well, I got fun. Here. This is a fun album for me. I'm a big fan of Grave from Sweden back in the day, the early stuff. The first 3 albums are classics.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever it comes to me wanting to listen to Grave, it's soulless. And I know a lot of people, this is when Entombed went Wolverine Blues. They got groovy, little less, old school death metal. And a lot of bands followed suit, whether it was Desultory or Desultory or Grave. This is their groovy album. But this album is so fun. The riffs are so simple and catchy. The songwriting's really good. It's just a weird. The production isn't really that dense like old school death metal is, but it's just a catchy, fun record. It's a fun one to play guitar to as well. It's in the tuning I'm tuned to B, and this is in that realm as well. So I can listen to this and play along with it by ear, which is fun. It's a solid record. I always liked how catchy and memorable it was. I love Into the Grave. I love You'll Never See. I love the And Here I Die EP, which has kind of a crappy production, but this came after that EP. It's a solid, fun record, man. And after this, the Hating Life was kind of crap. Yes, Rick, Gorefest went groovy as well. Gorefest were awesome, and they really lost themselves for a while before they came. The comeback albums are awesome, by the way. But yeah, this is a great album and a lot of fun, and this is just a fun one to drive around to and jam out to. And you're next.
All right. This is something that you sent my way, and
I'm listening. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, it was an interesting listen. We've chatted about it just a little, but so yeah, I'd be interested to go a little deeper on this one with you. Maybe it's the Blazing Stone album.
Blazing Right.
Sorry, they're wrong. Blazing Right. Endless Halls of Golden Totem. Kind of an odd title. It seems to be a thing tonight. If I remember right, this band is like New Jersey, Northeast based. And they've done a little bit to this one. It's an odd listen. On first listen, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it or how it was going to pan out, but it has some good points. It has some bad points, but overall, it shows the band operating in kind of a quirky style. One thing that came to mind after a couple listens was Slothfeg. That they're approaching some of these songs, from that kind of skewed perspective. It just one example to kind of point the right direction. Track 3 is called The Executioner's Woe, and so while it's all about the Axeman, big axe and hood and all this stuff, but it's kind of told from his point of view and how it's a real bummer for him to have to get up and go to work every day, killing people because it kind of makes everybody want to avoid him and not like him very much. It's just like, I don't know, man, it's a job. I kind of got to do it. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not judging these people. They've already been judged. I'm just doing what the boss tells me to do. And it's very different from your typical executioner song in heavy metal where it's all, fear of the Axeman, badass, chop, chop, kill, kill, heavy metal, drink beer. So yeah, it's just a real quirky way to come at the song. There's also, track 2 kind of does the same thing. Most heavy metal, of course, is always, raise your steel. My steel is true. Kill you with my steel. Blood on steel. Well, the second track on Blazing Right here is called On Your Steel, Just for One Night, is subtitled. And it's basically kind of like, as best I can tell, it's like, some guy getting ready to, go off to the big battle the next day, but the night before, lady's like, hey, soldier, why don't you put that sword down and come over here, hang out, relax a little bit before you go into some kind of berserker frenzy tomorrow and kill, half the Highlands or whatever. So, they're coming at these songs from a very kind of quirky place. Sometimes it works better than others. One thing, some of the tracks, they're trying to use kind of a weird 80s keyboard sound to give it that kind of little bit of retro vintage cheese. I don't think it works well at all on those songs. I really wish they had left that off, because I think it's a little bit too much womp womp rather than adding anything good to the tracks. But some of the other songs are, they're pretty good. I think the band's still kind of, finding their footing. But it will be interesting for me, at least, to see what they can do with a follow-up album. What's going to come next? Can they kind of develop this craft a bit? Yeah, exactly, Tom. That's exactly the vibe of that song. Just because I kill people for a living. I got feeling I'm a regular guy. I put my executioner hood on one head at a time, just like everybody else does. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what the band can do next, if they can build on this and come back even stronger, or if they hit a plateau. So Marty, what did you think of this one when you had sent it to me? Because interested to hear more about your thoughts on it too.
I picked it up with a bunch of Blazing Stone albums and Rock-a-Rolla stuff that I bought from Stormkeep, and it stood out for me. I really liked the riffing. I thought it was a really solid effort of these newer bands playing that older, trad metal style. They struck me as a lot of potential, and I'm like, this might be up Alan's alley, and I wanted to put in an order so you could get that new Blazing Stone. So I threw that in there as well, thinking you'd at least appreciate some of the shit that was going on. And I enjoyed it. I haven't spun it a million times, but I felt it was kind of in your wheelhouse and you'd dig it. So
yeah. And I do. It took a few spins. It did take a few spins, and it's a little uneven. Like I said,
yeah.
there's some rough edges here that they still need to work on, I think. But
Rick said they were from Philly, I think. He's like, oh, a Philly band.
Oh yeah. Sorry, they are a Philly band. I should have remembered that. Absolutely, thank you, Rick. But yeah, it's the first of these kind of new wave of traditional heavy metal bands I've stumbled across that seem to be going for that slightly quirkier, Broca's Helm and Slothfig vibe, which I can appreciate.
I'm a fan of. Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, now, they don't sound like Broca's Helm. Broca's Helm, tends to be very fast, going off the rails kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Blazing Right's not doing that here whatsoever. But just again, having that very, the very unusual, quirky take on what they're writing about. So yeah, hopefully they can come back even stronger and deliver. If they can really nail it down, I think they could deliver a really, really cool top end album. Just maybe needs, maybe they need one more album to get there. We'll see.
Mia has checked out the album. She says, I like the Executioner's Woe song quite a bit. Well, cheers.
Mm-hmm. It is one of the neater ones on there.
And All Stop Blue, thanks for coming on and getting in the chat. Just to salute you guys for doing these videos for so long. Really, really appreciate the effort. Hey, thank you so much. And as I stated in there, we really appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. And Ryan, Ryan, it sounds like you need an intervention, Ryan. That's a great album, but
which one you posted it and I accidentally deleted it.
Oh, Ryan said that he's listened to nothing but UFOs, strangers in the night for the last 33 years nonstop. Ryan being Ryan, keeping the chat very fun as always.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Ben's in the chat. Ben, cool to see you. I've mentioned you a couple of times tonight with things that you had recommended I'd picked up. So
and everybody, we've been trying to get Brain Smasher on, and he works
won't talk to
nights.
us. He's too good for us.
Yeah, he's he's got Patreons he's dealing with, and no, he's working, and we want to get him on. We're gonna have to figure out a day to get him on. He can't stream live with us on Fridays because he's probably taking a dump right now and watching. So cheers to you, brother. But next, I'm into the vinyl. Let's get into some records.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that me and thanks, Synthetic Life. We love you too, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. But I keep coming back to this album, and I feel bad because I tried to turn Alan onto this band, and he wasn't feeling it, and I'm a bit shocked, to be honest, but that's fine. It's kind of a quirky singer, and either it's kind of one of those you love it or hate it type of deals, and I keep coming back to this Megaton Sword, Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire. I love this record, man. I love it. It's amazing cover artwork. For me, the title track, Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire, they put the best song at the front, and it's an amazing song. Does the rest of the album hold up to this song? It really doesn't, but the songs are still really, really great. The more you listen to it, the more you get used to it. The thing that really kind of surprises me about this record is they've got 2 guitar players, and I've even watched some live stuff of these guys. They can tell they've got a really strong, unique singer, and they really lean into that. The riffing is great. The lead guitarist, he's not a good. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not a good guitar player. That's not fair. His choices are kind of pedestrian, and that sounds awful and mean, but I wish there was a little bit more color and flavor in the solo work. I think it would really bring them to the next level. And even you watch it live, and he's playing the shit verbatim, but you can tell he's at a certain level. But I just don't love his choices, to be absolutely to be honest. But God, I love the singer. He's got. This is a very epic album, and it's trad metal going. Yeah, hey, what's up, Zoller? Man, we got to get you on here. Let me know when you're available, brother. We got to do this. We got to get you on for something. Anyway, I love the singer. He's got a very quirky, unique style. It really connected with me, and he makes a lot of really unique choices. He doesn't follow the riffs verbatim. He kind of like wanders off in his own melodies over these riffs, and the riffs are really simplistic and epic, which is cool. It gives the songs a very unique, a very catchy, memorable feel, and just you really end up focusing on the singer. Where he's going is always interesting. He's kind of in a zone where it kind of stands alone with power metal singers. I love his vocal choices, but again, this one did not connect with Alan, and I guess we can talk about that now. Again,
yeah,
what was it?
We've covered this before. What you said was a big part of it. And yeah, you always feel, a bit like a jerk saying, this guy can't play good enough because, shit, I don't know which end of the guitar to stick up my ass. But there's just the lack of soloing on the album really hurts because, they're trying to play in that, big epic power metal style. They'll build the song up, they'll do the big chorus. You're waiting for, the guitar, to, just shred for a minute or two, and it never really does. It really is like they almost actively try to avoid doing a lot of soloing. And, then those parts of the song is just like, oh, we're just going to kind of fall back and on the rhythm for, a few bars here until the vocalist comes back in. It does hurt. It really does. The other thing that, struck me about the album, it felt like they were having a little I talked earlier about, some albums, like Numenorian, just balancing the different elements they were trying to use very, very well. I think Megaton Sword is still trying to find the right balance. There's, power metal vibes there. There's definitely, wanting to do sort of, an epic metal thing at the same time. There's the new wave of traditional, heavy metal elements there. But somehow I don't think they've got the mixture down quite right. It's not epic enough to be really epic. It's not forceful enough. Again, to be really forceful. It doesn't have the guitar work to, really, lean into the power metal or, speed enough. And so for me, it doesn't have quite the right balance of elements yet. The is good. There's no denying that at all. But for me, they need some work. And yeah, you feel like a jerk saying, learn to play solos, but
no, and I'm not a good solo player. I get it. I get it.
I mean, maybe they're trying to, sometimes the band's like, oh, everybody expects us to do solos, so we're not going to do solos. Well, sometimes that might work, but for this style, you do need those big guitar moments to complement those big epic vocal moments and those big choruses. when they're missing, you just kind of, there's a little bit of this void in the songs that there's nothing else to fill, and it kind of robs you of some of the power and momentum you're trying to build.
There are solos there, but they're not
Uh,
what you want, they're just not there. And what Zoller say? Megaton Sword, new Sirith Ungle spirit with pagan altar sound. Like it boggles me that Alan is not like woohoo when I like recommend him, dude, you gotta check these guys out. He bought the shit and he's like, meh. I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
Kirith Ungle crushes harder in any 30 seconds of any album than that whole Megaton Sword album does throughout its duration. No, let's not compare. Let's not get too carried away. It's cool that you and Craig are into the band. Other folks are too. Kellen over at Kellen for Company really digs that album too. A lot of folks like it. So if folks are intrigued, by all means, go check it out for sure. But let's not go into Kirith Ungle territory, son. No. We can't do that. But I like this comment from Zoller too. I'm not too worried about those puppets because it took them like a freaking decade to actually pull one jack move on the puppet master, and their grand master plan to stick it to the puppet master was to fall down during his Christmas presentation. So I'm not real worried about what those puppets are doing for me. I got no concerns. I mean, his grand 20-year plan was to franchise and open up a second puppet theater out of town. Yeah. At that pace, I'm good. Music album may be great, but that story is just, oh God.
And Rick is right. Eternal Champions seem to be getting most of the praise nowadays in this side of the metal pop. You know what? And it's kind of warranted. I was late to the party on that. I recently picked them up this year, both of their albums, and they're really solid. It's solid epic metal. Is it as good as Manila Road? No. Is it? I like the singer of Megaton Sword a bit better, but I still think those are really the two albums are really good.
Yeah, Synthetic gets it. Kirith Ungle, top of the food chain. Thou shalt not pass. Kind of stuff. Eric's saying too many solos and that kind of metal. I do get that too. That sometimes they do. Some bands do go too whole hog on that stuff. And for Rick, as far as Eternal Champion, you're right. They do get a ton of attention, and frankly, I think they get a little too much attention based on what I have heard. They're good, but I don't think they should be considered like leaders of the genre good. But again, that's maybe just personal taste. There are other bands in that style that I like, that I think are doing much, much better stuff than Eternal Champion. It's not knocking them. I just think they're overhyped, and that's not their fault. Sometimes something just catches on and gets a lot of attention.
And good
for them that they're getting it. It's good that for them, of course.
The hype machine was the reason why I was so late to the Eternal Champion thing. Yeah. So many people saying how great it is. I don't know why. I mean, I try to turn people on to music. So when other people try to turn me on and everybody's saying the same stuff about music, I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to wait on that. But
it can make you a little leery because, you look at what most people do listen to, and it's just like, I'm not going to take too much advice from you when it comes to new purchases. That's one thing, as a quick side note, that's one thing that, was always cool about, the zine days was, issue after issue, you could figure out which reviewers and which writers you would connect with so that you could, start to figure out that was a big thing for me with your writing back in the day. If you spoke very highly of something in Metal Maniacs, I needed to go check it out. I wasn't always going to like it, but probably like 8 out of 10 times, I was going to be like, that's good. It was the same with Jeff Wagner. If Jeff was giving it a big thumbs up, I would just go buy it because I knew enough. I had enough experience reading his stuff and figuring out that I'm on the same wavelength with this guy a lot of the time. On the other hand, somebody like Mark G, I liked his writing, but if he recommended
he likes some garbage, man.
His tastes were not to my tastes.
No.
So it didn't matter. If he was praising a band, I was going to be like, someone's going to have to play that for me before I even consider buying it or trading for it. No, thank you.
Yep.
So getting those kind of recommendations always useful. Don't even know how I got off on that tangent. Sorry about that.
Simon says no love for Traveler and Riot City. I just watched
exactly.
Riot City live at a Hell's Heroes concert this happened this year. They were really fucking good. I never heard that band. They were fucking good. I was surprised.
That Burn the Night. Now that, Simon, that is exactly the album I would pick. That should be at the top of the food chain ahead of Eternal Champion. That Burn the Night album absolutely fucking kills. That is a great one. Traveler's really good too. Traveler has gotten some hype. They're another one of the band names that will pop up more often than others, and I do like them. But yeah, Riot City, yeah, that is the band leading the way.
Is that members of Riot? I have no idea. Is it
no connection whatsoever?
Okay.
Nope. They just nope. The name is similar, but nothing else.
I need to track down some of their stuff because that performance I couldn't believe. Oh, here we go. What's Zoller saying? Venator, Traveler, Riot City, Megaton Sword of the New Traditional League.
Huh. Yeah, Venator. I've heard the name, but I have not checked that one out yet. I need to look at them. But yeah, Traveler's cool. Absolutely. Traveler was a funny one. In my class recommend that band to me. Every year, I usually get, the one or two, metalheads in class. And one of them is like, Dr. Colson, what's on the homework this weekend? And have you heard of Traveler? It's like, okay, let's unpackage this one thing at a time. First, let's get the school stuff done. Then tell me about this new band.
It's your turn, right? I just did we just went on the tangent. I'm gonna
did the Megaton Sword.
Talk about your next one. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. This is something that Rick from the Dreadful Minutes sent a while back, and I may have chatted about it a little bit here or there. I'd never heard about this, so it was actually really cool and very much up my alley. It's a band called Bible Black. This is an anthology. This band never really got off the ground. They were a project in the early 1980s in upstate New York. And they were meant to be kind of a super group deal. Let me see. Must be on the inside of the booklet. It's going to be easier for me just to hold it up and read it than try to remember it. Yes, we've got, it featured Craig Gruber, who, was in Black Sabbath for a hot minute. Gary Driscoll from Rainbow. A fellow named Duck McDonald from Shaking Street. The singer part is where it's interesting because they went through a few different vocalists. They originally tried out a young Eric Adams pre-Manowar. And so the first few tracks on here are the demos they did with Eric singing. As they mentioned, that didn't work out so hot, so they ended up recruiting a guy who was singing with like a production of Jesus Christ Superstar named Jeff Fenholt, and did a bunch of demos with him. And when that lineup eventually didn't come together, their third and last stab at it was recruiting a young Joey Belladonna pre-Anthrax. And the last few demos on here have Joey on vocals. So it's this crazy project of what might have been, with a couple of these, guys that had some name recognition from their time, in Rainbow and Sabbath, trying to put together a project in the early 80s. It's a kind of eclectic set of demos, which makes sense. You've got several different vocalists that are recorded over a period of at least 3 years or so. Reading the liner notes and such, the lineup instability and just never quite able to land that record deal is what sidelined them. I think another problem the band suffered, based on the tracks here, they had a little bit of an identity crisis. They couldn't figure out how heavy they did or did not want to be, because some of the tracks on here do lean into that early 80s heavy metal style, things like, Guy Speranza era Riot come to mind with some of these tracks, and they're very good at that style. Other tracks, though, are leaning a lot more just into, early 80s hard rock and even just like, AOR rock a little bit. So those songs are obviously, feel, much from a heavy metal perspective, those songs are kind of weak sounding. And you can really tell the band is kind of stuck. Do we go with this new heavy metal fad that's going on? Do we kind of go with, the play it safe and stick to maybe more, the rock and roll audience? I don't know. We could do this metal thing, but the rock thing's appealing too. And so I think that probably hurt the chances. Was just they needed an identity and they didn't develop it. And again, maybe they just never had the right lineup chemistry to make a decision and go one way or the other too. Let's see.
He says Belladonna, instant irritation. Eric Adams, instant interest.
Well, it's funny because based on, again, the liner notes are pretty short, but they make it clear that working with Eric quickly did not work out. That was a very short-lived relationship, and you get the sense that Joey, that was really like a last stab thing. The main bulk of the demos on here are with Jeff on vocals, and he's a good singer. He had a good voice for the style, or I guess I should say styles that they were trying to play. There's some cool tracks on here. But there are some tracks too that just, they feel more like, 80s rock and roll stuff. They're not bad at that style, but it does make for sort of a weird back and forth listen. Regardless, it's a cool collection. And so for fans of that era, just as a historical artifact, it's really neat to have this. I had never heard about this project. I had never heard of this, even looking through Anthrax or Manowar liner notes. Bible Black was never a name that popped up to me at all. So big thank you to Rick for lining me up with this, because it's definitely the kind of thing that I'm always interested to check out and know about. So cool collection. If you are a Manowar or Anthrax completist, then I guess you got to pick it up. And it's a good listen. There are enough good tracks on there to make it worthwhile. But don't expect it to be very consistent, because it's very much not.
All right. I'm going to spin it around here for a little bit of a direction shift. I like industrial music. I'm a fan of it. Eric over at High Defamation TV turned me onto this band. This is a $20 spin band. $20 spin is kind of changing. They're trying to broaden their spectrum a little bit on the bands they sign, but this is Black Magnet with Hallucination Scene. It's very much an industrial record with some metal guitar stuff on it. Very solid. Side 2 is quite good with Trustfucker, Crush Me, Hegemon, and Walking in the Dark. I've listened to this a good clip of times, man, and it's really good modern industrial with a metal feel swing to it. There's a good aggression to it. It's good production. I like the songs. I like the vocals. They're the spoken, digitally affected type of gravelly stuff. Right up my alley. And it's kind of cool that it came out on $20 spin. Like I said, they're trying to broaden their roster a little bit into reaching different genres, which, it's probably smart for a label that's growing and growing and growing. And man, I got another record in here I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I like it a lot better than the one I'm about to talk about, which people are going to throw garbage at me when I start talking about that one. But Black Magnet, Hallucination Scene. It's good. If you're into industrial music, definitely check these guys out. Yes, Nikki, it is the S. Craig Zoller in here. Yes. Anyway, check this out if you're into industrial. It's solid, really well done. This is a really crazy vinyl variant too, but I'm not going to yank it out of here to show you because, whatever. It's the music that counts. It isn't how cool it looks spinning around your deck, but check out Black Magnet. Very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Hey, I do, Eric. I bought both of their records. Wait, Reality? Is that the band? No. They have two records. They're very pitched. The first one's very pitch shiftery and the other one isn't. I don't know. I got two. Yeah, they're good. Really good. I got both their records. Anyway, sorry, Alan.
Oh no, I was just going to ask. You touched on something there that was interesting. With $20 spin. Yeah, it's been one of those up and coming labels. Signing more bands. Do you think it's wise for a band at that stage? Obviously, a band at that stage wants to grow, and that means signing more bands. Is it better for a label like that to kind of stick to their wheelhouse? I mean, folks do have a certain expectation, of the $20 spin sound at this point, or does it benefit them to branch out and try a lot of different things? Because some folks will see that, think oh, it's on $20 spin. They'll buy it expecting one thing, and they'll be pissed off.
There's going to be some of that, but let's be honest, man. I mean, this cavernous death metal thing, as much as it's good, I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about it because I like it. It's good. It's just, it's not going to last forever, man. Everything ebbs and flows. And it's just the way it is. And I think like, with Beinrune, we have kind of a sound. The Glorious Dead record, I put it out because it's my band. But is it a Beinrune band? Probably not. But I would love to broaden the horizons. I mean, we do a lot of woodsy black metal stuff, and that shit's great. I love it. But I would eventually love to, be able to dig into some other realms of metal as well. But you have to kind of walk a balance. And I just think a label as big as $20 Spin is, because they are getting big. It's a label that's really grown a lot. They're in a warehouse. I mean, they're doing good things. It doesn't hurt to try new things. And they've got another band coming out that isn't even metal at all. I don't even remember. I can't remember. The Bleed, I think, is the name of it. I read the description, and it's not up my alley at all. But it's like not even really metal. And it's interesting. They're trying. They're testing the waters. And I've said before, you gotta, in your own life, you have to diversify the music you listen to. It can't all be blasting black metal all the time, or you're gonna burn out. You have to diversify. And a label owner, I can see them wanting to. You can't put out every cerebral rot in the world. I mean, you could, but it doesn't hurt to try new things. And whether the people that are fans are cool with that, I mean, that's a chance you take, I guess. But just my thoughts on it.
Okay. Yeah. It was a sort of an interesting thing, because I'd been noticing that about some $20 Spin signings myself lately. It's just like, well, that's interesting that they're going in another direction, that it can shoot you in the foot a little bit. But yeah, I think you're right too. If you stay in too narrow a genre, you can only eventually people do get tired of that and move on to other things.
And Fraser puts out the question, what's your favorite label? I put Noise Records. Not even a question.
Metal Blade has always been my favorite, with Noise as number 2. Mm-hmm. Just I got a lot more Metal Blade releases back in the day because, well, it was a domestic label. They were easier to find, in the flea markets and places that I was digging around for records at.
And everybody, Zoller is going to be on the show at some point. He wanted to do it in person, but I think one of these days, he's a busy man, the most driven, creative guy I know. Dear friend, love the guy, love you, man. But we're going to get him on one of these days. It'll be good. It'll be fun. We'll have a great time. Anyway, we got Wagner on. Now we got to get Zoller on. It's going to happen. He's shaking his head no right now, but it's going to happen. Okay, you're up, Alan. What's up?
Carl had a question, I think, for you, Marty. I was trying to dig it back up because it scrolled past.
They're okay. I had an old tape of theirs. It was pretty good. It was kind of black metal, but if I remember, it was kind of doomy as well. They were kind of like a very unique. The Mexican scene always had a very unique flavor. Whether it was Cenotaph, I mean, they were doing a brutal death thing, but they had a weird twist to them. And Shub Niggurath and the Chasm, of course, the fucking Chasm, or metal fucking giants, man. I loved the weird riffing. They just had a very strange, dark, weird riffing style, and very cool. Yeah, I mean, Argentum, did I follow them forever? No, but the stuff I heard, no.
There's an idea.
No, I'm good. But anyway, Alan, you're up.
All right. This was a weird one that turned up at the local store. I'd heard about the band. I never had really checked them out, and never really seen anything by them in the wild before. So it was just like, sure, let's pull the trigger. I kind of know what I'm getting into, but I kind of don't. This is Vlad Tepes' CD. Was in the...
Is that War Funeral March?
This is Black Legions.
Okay.
So yeah, this band is known for being part of that mid 90s French black metal collective group of musicians, the LLN scene, Los Legions Noir. If anybody isn't familiar with it by chance, it was kind of a group of musicians. They kind of recombined themselves into a whole bunch of different bands, and mostly just did cassette recordings of their rehearsals, and just kind of circulated them mainly among themselves. Of course, gradually here and there things got leaked out into the tape trading circuits. it was always this kind of, very mysterious, underground thing. They, very few official releases were ever done by any of the bands. Yeah, it led to a lot of bootlegging over the years. It led to a lot of bands being made up and sort of like, oh, is anybody heard of this project that was also LLN? And never was, it was just somebody's own personal project trying to kind of, ride the coattails of all the mystique that got built up around the scene. So yeah, anyway, it's, a scene I had heard about, but yeah, I've never really had dug into it all. And I was like, what the hell? I think I know what that is. I actually went up and talked to the guys. I'm not crazy. This is black metal band. It's the LLN project. I was like, okay, ring me up. I'll give it a chance. But yeah, it's having looked it up once I got home. It's an unofficial release. So they did technically have a boot on the shelf for sale. Not the greatest sin in the history of mankind, so not going to worry about that. But it's a recent bootleg of what was, I think, the band's last recording, which is officially known as Black Legions, and it was basically then a tribute recording because it's Vlad Tepes playing songs by several of the other bands in the LLN circles. And I don't remember all of them. There's not many liner notes, but there's a couple of songs by a band called Mutilation. It's misspelled intentionally with two eyes.
Two eyes. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. There's a couple of songs by
Grimly Reborn. Awesome album.
Yeah. Belketra.
They're
okay. Yeah. Bill Ketra and Vlad Tepes did a split, which was one of the few official things that ever came out of the scene as kind of a limited release back in the day. This is exactly what you would expect. It is very raw, very primitive sounding, mid-90s black metal. They obviously were paying a lot of attention to what had been going on in the Norwegian scene in the previous years and kind of going, with that whole aesthetic. Is very dark and cult and overtly satanic as possible. For that style, it's not bad at all. It's got all the lo-fi. If you're one of those kind of second wave Norwegian purists, this stuff would probably appeal to you. It's got all the hallmarks that you'd associate with those very early Dark Throne recordings, post Soulside Journey, of course. The earlier the Emperor, the Mayhem stuff, with Dead on vocals and all that. If that's your jam, the LLN stuff, if you can track it down, it's in that same wheelhouse for sure. Nothing fancy at all, nothing clean. It's very raw, very dirty, but for what it is, it's pretty well done. I don't regret picking it up. It's probably not something I'm ever going to play a ton.
I'm a little shocked you're showing a Vlad Tepes. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of giddy with excitement here a little bit, but
I kind of figured it. Yeah, it was something a little different too. But I don't mind some of this kind of stuff. It's not stuff I dig into a ton, but I do like it. At the end of the day, it's good for what it is. It's not something I want to pull off the shelf very often, but I do not regret picking it up. It was kind of cool that I stumbled across it and finally got to check the band out, since I had read about them over the years but never actually bothered to listen to them. So that, in a nutshell, is Vlad Tepes.
If you can wrap your head around that, people are talking in the chat. Definitely check out Mutilation's Grimly Reborn. It's got Moynock or whatever the hell his name is on the cover in a wheelchair in corpse paint.
I've seen that one.
Mercy for Humans. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Zoller says some interesting tuning on Vlad Tepes, which is translation for lack of tuning.
Oh yeah, I mean they made no bones about we're just plugging in and recording this shit. It was, again, they never was really meant for circulation beyond their group of friends. But of course, it eventually got out into the wild, and here we are 20 some odd years later, bootlegging it and selling it around the world.
Yep, absolutely. All right. On the other end of the spectrum, about as far away as you can get from the LLN, man, I keep coming back to this record. I love it so much. It was such a big record when it came out, and it still holds true. As far as Melodeath from Sweden goes, this is the be-all, end-all. This is the end boss of melodic death metal for me. The Jester Race, this album, I just love the feel. I love the production. There's such an emotional flow to some of the melodies on this record. The vocals are perfect. The songwriting is perfect. It's just one of those snapshot in time that all other bands that came from the Gothenburg and the Stockholm scene aspired to be. I mean, this is Gothenburg melodic death metal to the core, and it's just so fantastic. And I mean, the album after it's okay. Then the second album after it, it's okay. And the albums that came before it are good. It's just, this album is, for me, the In Flames album to get. And what they became is hot garbage as far as I'm concerned. It's not even
Hot Topic garbage, perhaps.
And what makes it okay, this kind of like rounds about back to Creator. I mean, Creator progressed over the years, but they still are a metal band that, retains their thrash roots and works in melody, whereas these guys went with the, the mallcore kids and the, whatever Afflicted. Horkle is better than okay. Revisit. Yeah, it's good, but man, this to me this is the one. This is the one, and I put it on, and I want to listen to it 5 times. It's just, I've never gotten sick of it. I don't listen to it every week, but man, it's so good. Every time I put it on, it's like I remember the first time I heard it, and it's like never gets old. And stupid fucking cover. Jesus, man, what were they thinking? This is so dumb, but God, it's such a great record. So good. If you're not familiar with this era of In Flames, golden melodic death metal from Sweden. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those classics at this point, for good reason. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely the album that's best known from those days. I'm always a bit torn on whether to pick that or I love the Subterranean EP, but I mean, it's just an EP. It's a little raw, but it's great. I really like, some of those early Dark Tranquility albums, though, too. They're very much neck and neck with Gesture Race.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Well, jumping to another completely different end of the spectrum that I usually don't jump to. Yes, I'm going to go from LLN to OSI.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah, this is I had never really heard of this until we had Jeff on a while back, and this is one of Jim Mattheos's side projects with is it Kevin Moore from Dream Theater, if I'm remembering right. Getting late, brain getting fuzzy, sorry. But as such, it's exactly what you'd expect. It's very, it's at the prog metal end of the spectrum, fair amount of noodling and such, but Jeff spoke pretty highly of it. And as I mentioned earlier, I know enough about, Jeff's tastes that if he, speaks glowingly of something that has any kind of metal leaning to it, I should probably give it a chance.
Well,
the proggy stuff, I'm not a huge prog head. It's interesting, but I have no background in it. So, that stuff, I'll sometimes check it out, but I don't, it's not my style of music. And, randomly about a week later after, Jeff was on the show, I was at a bookstore flipping through their used CD rack, which is of course always a bit sad. And this was sitting there. And again, a week earlier, I would not even have stopped and looked at this. I mean, this does not look like it even belongs in the heavy metal section. But Jeff and some folks in the chat that night had chimed in too, saying, "Oh yeah, the OSI stuff is really good." And so I was like, "Wait a second, I think that's the thing they were talking about last week on the stream." I picked it up and looked at it. I was like, "Oh yeah, it says so up there in the sticker." Well, for $5.75, I will give it a chance.
Yep.
And it's really not bad. I've played it a few times, as one would expect. It's kind of a longer listen, a bit complex. One thing I do like about Jim's prog leanings is that he always makes sure that to write solid songs, that it never becomes just an all-out noodle fest, showing off how many notes he can play in 12/47th time on this weird minor scale using 18 different strings and blah 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 blah. That's as impressive as hell to musicians, I'm not a musician. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a good song. And Matthias is always good at delivering good songs, even when he is getting more proggy and more techy. So it's kind of a cool listen. Outside my normal wheelhouse, I don't have a lot of things to compare it to or anything, but it was one of those things I stumbled into. Wouldn't have even known about if Jeff and other folks in the chat hadn't talked about it. And yeah, I was glad I picked it up. This is one of those like weird book
Digibook.
CD version. Yeah. Well, it's like the hard digibook version. Yeah. It's got the second disc only has like 3 tracks, but it's got a cover of, set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. It's also got, I think, like a Near Young song on here somewhere. Is that New Mana? Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. There's some video footage I haven't watched yet. I never watched the video footage on CDs.
I used to, but not much anymore. I'll get around to that, and I never do.
I never do. I don't even know if I've got. It just never occurs to me. But yeah, so yeah, if folks are really into Matthias and like myself weren't familiar with this, yeah, it's pretty cool. I would recommend it for fans of that style.
Cool. Everybody, Eric Bauer, get ready to roll your eyes. Seven Sinners, Halloween. I've been listening to this kind of on a daily basis. My kid the other day pulled it up on Spotify. He's like, we haven't listened to this one in a while, Dad. So we put it on, and it's back in my rotation. This is a great fucking record. There is not a song on here I don't like. Even the bonus tracks on the second LP, all good. If a Mountain Could Talk, love that song. My Sacrifice, even the deep cuts on this record I really like. This is Halloween. Oh my God, I love it, Carl. Deal With It, one of my favorite bands. I listen to them probably daily, especially because my kid likes them, and he's a young metalhead in training. Halloween, Glory Hammer are in his rotation every day, and I like listening to it, and because he's listening to it, I'm enthusiastic. We'll say that much. This is a great record. There's Who Is Mr. Madman, a very thrashy song. Are You Metal actually has a blast beat in it for a Halloween song. It's kind of a what the fuck kind of moment, but you're right. Yeah, it did have to be done. Absolutely. I love it. This is a great record. People that kind of dismiss this, I don't know where. I think I sent this. No, this is the one I was looking for to get to Alan to buy for Alan, and I couldn't find it cheaply, which is ridiculously. But
I still haven't tracked it down. Yeah, it's going to show up for $7 used one day, and I'm going to buy it. And I think it's the last Halloween CD I need to buy.
Yep. Seven Sinners. Tim is right. Seven Sinners are a great aggressive album. It is, but then there's songs like World of Fantasy, which is kind of the more commercial Darius song on the album. It's a good mix. Oh, what's Eric saying? Everything that Marty has shown leading up to this has been a ruse. The only thing his motherfucker listens to is God. It's true, man. Why you go to the gym when you're getting swole tonight? Why don't you put on some Halloween and lift with a smile on your face, man? If you've kind of dismissed the Darius era,
that iron tonight.
This is the first album I bought when I decided I was going to check out Darius again, and I was utterly blown away how good this album is, and it sold me on the guy. And all the other albums that came out around here, I like most songs on those albums as well, but this album is exceptional. Not a bad song in the bunch. Would you agree, Alan?
Yeah, again, it's the one I've heard the least since it's the one I haven't tracked down, but I've played it a lot on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, it's very, very solid. When we did our Halloween rankings a few weeks ago, I think I hit it 9th. So like just outside, or maybe 10th. It was just outside the top half of the rankings.
Yep. You'd think Halloween was BOC. You know, we should get Aaron and Zalaron do a BOC dive. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a copy of Mirrors in between the two of them and stand way back.
yeah.
Let them do their thing.
Synthetic Life. Eric Bauer does not love Halloween. He it makes it raises his blood pressure when I talk about him, and it makes me a little bit happy. Sorry. All right, Alan, what you got?
I've got a classic. Sometimes you're just in the mood to hear an oldie but a goodie. Sometimes you want to hear British Steel.
Sometimes.
Yep. One I did not have a hard copy of. I had it on the computer, but yeah, again, these reissues have been showing up locally quite a bit for just $5-6, and so yeah, I was happy to pick this one up. Oh, what is Rick up to?
Hard to jam Halloween at the gym for me, already shaped like a pumpkin.
Rick always keeping it fun for sure. But yeah, one of the classic Priest albums. It's one I was kind of down on for a number of years. I guess I just kind of got a bit tired of it, especially hearing some of the hits over and over. But the track list is pretty solid. Having revisited it more, so it's like no, it does have a lot of good tracks on it for sure. So it's climbed in the standings in recent times. So yeah, just adding it on. I fucking hate these silver borders they put on this reissue series.
Not a fan either.
It looks horrible. I don't know why they felt the need to do that. They've got short liner notes, and they do at least throw a couple of oddball bonus tracks on there. There's Red, White, and Blue, and a live version of Grinder on this one. But yeah. Sometimes you just want to hear a little classic undiluted heavy metal goodness, and British Steel will fit the bill.
All right. Okay. We're back to $20 spin, and I bought this record. I got their last album. People are ranting and raving about it on the VC. I got it. I liked it. I thought it was okay. It had a bit of a disembowelment feel to it. I can't remember the name of it. Forever Gloom, I think it was. This is a new Worm record. I was a minute to get this. I ended up getting it, and I like this record. It's okay. It's an okay record. It's a little less Funeral Doom, which is cool. There's a little bit more of a pace up. It upped itself in pacing a little bit. I'm still not blown away by this band. It's just the hype. I mean, they're good. They're a good band. I guess I'm missing out on what the fucking excitement is. This is Forever Glade for anybody that's taking notes. It's a solid record. I think it's pretty good. I just don't see why people are shitting their pants, man. I don't know. I like it a lot. I just don't know. I don't know if it's just the hype is keeping me at bay on this. I've listened to it a couple times. I think it's okay. I like it, but I'm just not. I kind of wish I had the CD instead of the record, to be honest. Even though there's a huge fucking poster in here. They spent some money on this pressing, which is totally cool, man. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because there's so many people rant and rave. It's good. It's good. Again, I'm not in the love it realm. I think it's good. Yeah, the solos are pretty cool. Oh, it's weird. People are thinking it's overrated too. Their last album is very disembowelment, Carl. I would agree with that. I don't know. I don't know what I need to do or what I'm missing, but it's nothing really new. It's just the new band that everybody's kind of latched onto, and that's fine. That's cool. Awesome for them. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I was where everybody else was with this, because, and again, props to the band. I mean, they're writing some good stuff. They've got a good label behind them, and they're getting a lot of press, and they're getting a lot of love, and fuck yeah, man. Maybe need some more makeup tips, but whatever. It's all good. It's all good. It's okay. Not sure what all the fuss is about, but it's all good. Worms kind of throwback mashup of Funeral Doom, black metal, Swedish, and Florida death metal. They definitely have a nostalgia thing going on, which people tend to. Yeah, and it's cool. More power to them. Alan, you're up. Oh, go ahead, Alan. You have something to say about this one?
Oh, just in quick. Yeah, I've picked it up too, and yeah, it's good. I haven't really spent enough time with it to decide how far up or down. I played it a few times, and I kind of moved on, and I haven't circled back to it. Maybe that's not the best sign, but it's also, a lot of crap has rolled in, so it's hard to spend tons and tons of listens on something that doesn't, connect with you quickly. But my understanding, is that they've also kind of changed styles slightly with each album. So maybe this one's just a bit different from the others. All right. Sometimes you're in the mood for classic heavy metal. Sometimes you miss the mark slightly. This album I hadn't played in ages, so I gave it another chance, and still not really a favorite. Balls to the Wall. Uh, don't know
I
what
was
it is.
surprised by that record. I bought it, and I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, and I tend to like it less than I think I will every time I play it. You know, it's not a bad album. There's a couple of issues. There's, first it starts with Balls to the Wall, which is a fine song, but my God, we've all heard it a million times. It is one of those songs I really don't care if I ever hear it again. It's a little. I've just heard it enough. I just have. It's all right for an anthemic heavy metal song. They repeat the title way, 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 way too many times. The rest of the track list, London Leather Boys is okay.
London Leather Boys.
There's not a lot of tracks on here that I really latch onto. I think the biggest problem for me is just that when I play this, by the time I'm halfway into the album, I'm just thinking to myself, I really wish I was listening to Restless and Wild right now. Why didn't I pick Restless and Wild? Why is that on the shelf and this in the CD player? For me, Restless and Wild just blows this album out of the water, and as such, there's just not a lot of reason for me to come back to this one. I try from time to time. I've tried with it here recently, but it's just, I know it was their most successful. For a lot of folks, it's the Accept album they know and love, but
we had the most exposure with the Balls to the Wall video. I mean, I remember seeing it when my parents had a satellite dish. Much Music always played the Balls to the Wall video. I mean,
it's the song. It's their song for sure, and I get that, but I don't know. It's not the Accept album for me. There's a lot of stuff in this vein. If I want to hear Accept, yes, I want to pick the previous album. If I want to hear other classic metal, I'll play British Steel again, or I'll play something else. But I gave it another visit, but Balls to the Wall just doesn't really doesn't quite get. I can do without that one, I think. So womp womp. What you got next, Mister?
Hold on one second. Into Realm Builder. All right.
Yes, Rick. I'm just I'm dropping the ball on our episode 69 selections.
Well, I can't remember if I showed this album or not. I've been on a bit of a crust kick. I've always liked it, but it's one of those another genre, subgenre of punk and a bit of a metal feel to it that I never wanted to wade into, because it's you start getting into a new genre, you want to buy a bunch of stuff, and then you're like, it's crazy. But this is an English crust band called Agnesy. The album is called When Daylight Reveals the Torture. I've listened to this album a lot. This is really good. You can pick this up on Profane Existence for $15. It's a punk / crust label in Minnesota. This album is great, man. It's D-beat fueled crust, as a metal feel. I mean, the English crust bands, they've always got a little bit of a bolt thrower feel to them. This is a great record. I know I tried to turn Rick onto these guys. This album is super catchy. It's well produced. It's got a really cool cover. The band is crushing. It's a great crust band. Good crust album. They've got another thing that came out before this. It's been kind of hard to track down, but for a cheap price. And When Daylight Reveals the Torture. If you're into crust, you have not heard Agnesy, check these guys out. It's really good album. Solid as hell. My kid brought me down a grilled cheese. I'm going to eat it while Alan talks about his next one.
No problem.
Agnesy fall into that what I call stadium crust. Well, whatever, man. It works for me. I'm a believer. Anyway, go ahead. You're up.
All right. Another pickup at the used bookstore. Sometimes you can find a few things there. Corrosion of Conformity's Deliverance. Came out around 94, if I remember right. This is where, they really, started turning hard into, I guess, what you've come to be known as more like, the southern-ish sound, getting very warm, very fuzzy. And had this when it came out back in the day, liked it, played it a lot. I had eventually traded it off. Over time, it became an album where I was just playing the same 2 or 3 songs over and over and skipping through a lot of it. So at some point, when I culled out the CD collection, I'd gotten rid of it. I had, in the past couple years, picked up the follow-up album, which I'm blanking on the title of it. It's the one with the red cartoon pig on the cover, Swine or something like that. And liked it more than I thought I would. I had never really heard it. I was like, yeah, this is actually pretty good. And so looking at this in the used bookstore, I'm just like, well, I know it's at least got a few songs I liked. Again, for $5, I give it a chance. I was actually surprised how well this has held up over time. It turned out it wasn't just, the 2 or 3 kind of, hits off the album that I liked, but I remembered most of the album right off the bat. Yes, sure. Albatross, Clean My Wounds, those were the songs that, got, at least some limited, college radio airplay kind of stuff. But yeah, it's actually a pretty solid listen, start to finish. And I know some folks didn't like the change in direction from the band. I came upon this band with the release of Blind, so that was my introduction to COC. I had to, look into their earlier stuff long after the fact.
I came in onto it with the early Eye for an Eye, Technocracy, Animosity. Yeah. I love those records. And
yeah, I can get why, folks, with that history with the band really didn't care for, this shift in style.
Yeah.
Since I didn't have that same history with the band, it wasn't as big a change from Blind to this. There was a notable difference, but it wasn't as as stark. So yeah, I don't mind this era of corrosion of conformity. This and the one after it actually turned out, they're pretty fun albums for this style. I have not listened to much beyond those two. I know at one point Pepper is out of the band, and there's an album where he came back, but I have never checked out any of that stuff at all. But yeah, for the sort of early and mid 90s era of COC, I don't mind keeping that stuff on the shelf. Glad I picked this one back up, and pleasantly surprised at how well it had held up, and that it wasn't just 2 or 3 songs and the rest was garbage. No, it's a really solid album for me.
Cool.
All right, hopefully I bought you at least half a grilled cheese sandwich there.
A couple bites. He didn't. He basically toasted 2 pieces of bread and put cheese in between it. So it's still it was cool. Very thoughtful.
That's cool.
All right, I got 2 more. I don't know, where are you at, Alan? And how are you sitting?
We're close to the bottom of the stack.
Right on,
for sure.
Well, this is one. I'm a big Borknagar fan when it comes to their first album. I think it's a great Norwegian black metal classic. A lot of people don't talk about it, but it's good. Really solid. Garm screaming his brains out on it. When it came to the second one, where he started doing his more warbly singing, it kind of lost me. I like the Simon era, or Seaman, or however you say his name. But this album, a little bit later down the road, Vortex is back in the band. It still has Vortex singing on it. For me, this album is really, really good. It's a solid Borknagar album. They put out some kind of dad rock type of black metal records for me. I mean, True North, is that the one with all 3 of the singers back singing on it? There's like a dad rock feel to that stuff. But this album to me is really solid. I love the song Frostrite. It's a Vortex song. It could have been on a solo album. I know a lot of people kind of turn their nose up at that solo album, but I love it. I love his vocals. They're very obtuse, unique, whatever adjective you want to throw in there. But Frostrite has just got so much passion and power in it, and it's so much more triumphant than the rest of this record. I hear that song, I spin it 10 times in a row. I love it. But it always brings me back to Erd. This is a good one. Kind of sad that Vortex is gone. I like his vocals. I'm not a real big fan of his solo career as whatever the hell it was called. What was it called?
I'm drawing. Borknagar is one of those bands. There's so many ins and outs. I get very turned around and confused trying to keep their stuff straight. Although I do like a lot of their stuff.
Yep.
I really do just start to go brain dead trying to keep track of who's in on this one? Who's out on that one? Which one is
Yeah,
it? Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a mess.
Yep. It's a good album though. I like it. All for Frostbite though. That's the best song on there. I love that song. I'm gonna eat another bite of sandwich while you're talking about your next one.
Absolutely. So jumping back to more of the proggy techie end, which isn't an end I jump to very often, but I guess I have a couple of times here recently. Revisited the most recent Canvas Solaris album, Chromosphere. This one, if I remember right, came out about a year and a half ago. And it's all instrumental. These guys are obviously very big prog fans, but the album works quite good. Again, the songs are there, and the album is not taken over by people just trying to show off how much dexterity they have with their musical chops. Not something I would really have ever crossed my radar, except that Hunter Ginn from Radical Research Podcast is the drummer for the band, so I kind of became aware of it through that channel. And I was like, oh yeah, we had Hunter on with an early episode of Heavy Metallurgy, so I had checked it out before, and I actually liked it quite a bit. It surprisingly clicked with me. It's not a style I listen to very often, but the opening song, Extra Solar Biosignature, it had a lot of really cool, memorable parts that I'd play the song and be like, yeah, I actually want to hear that again. Play it a couple of times, like, yeah, actually, let's go back and play that some more. So it's actually held up pretty well. This is the kind of thing that in a lot of cases I'd buy it, play it a few times, put it on the shelf, and it could sit there for years and never get touched again. We'll see how many times the OSI that I showed earlier gets played. I have no idea. That one may collect a lot of dust before it gets spun again. But Canvas Solaris comes out for a spin from time to time. I really do like the way they crafted these songs. It's a pretty fun listen. It doesn't feel like it goes on for too long or anything. They kind of, even though if some of the songs are longish, they keep them moving, which again is a problem that I have with a lot of metal towards the progressive end. They're too bad to just slow down and wallow in how magnificent they are. And Hunter and the guys don't do that on this album whatsoever. So it's a good listen, even if it's not quite in my wheelhouse. I don't mind playing this one from time to time. So it was fun going back and re-listening to Chromosphere and realizing that, yeah, it's still a really fun listen. It wasn't just a one-time flirtation that didn't have any staying power. This is a cool album.
We did an episode with Hunter sometime back too. Definitely. Do you remember which topic we did? I don't remember.
We did 90s, kind of overlooked 90s gems, because we talked about things like vaudeville. He talked about Atrocity, might have been one of his picks.
Mm-hmm.
No, there was a French band. The cover looks like Asphyx. I always forget the name of the band. Damn it. It's got another crucifixion pose with a brown cover scheme. French death metal, really good. Somebody in the chat help me out here.
Anybody wants to see us chat with Hunter, go back in our archived shows and check that out. Awesome. Yeah. We're going to get him back on again as well. So
yeah, and check him out over on Radical Research, of course. They always have interesting topics over there, even if a lot of the topics are outside the heavy metal spectrum and more into prog or other things.
Merciless, you're right, Michael. That's it. It had the dolly cover. Abject Offerings. Yeah.
Yes, that's Merciless. Yeah. Sorry, I got stuck on Asphyx and could not get off that. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, really good album. That was another one that Hunter had picked for that episode. And that episode was September 2021, I think.
God, how can you remember that shit? I can't remember what I had for dinner last night.
It was late August or early September of last year, so folks can dig that one up if they want to check it out. He was a really fun guest to have on, and looking forward to having him back sometime.
Absolutely. Maybe we're going to get the Radical Research guys on together. We talked about that as well, so we'll see.
If we can line it up, it'd be great to have him and Jeff both on at the same time. Yep, I'm going to throw a Steve Hackett guitar pick in between the two of them, and just stand way back and let them do their thing.
All right, my last one for the night. Friend of mine's band. He's in the band Nachachuan, who are on Byron Recordings. They just put out an amazing album this year, Kana Black. Iron Flame, Blood Red Victory. This is our last album. They just dropped an a new album on last Friday, called Where Madness Dwells, which I have in my inbox on Bandcamp. I need to pull the trigger on. This is the last album. This is just really solid American heavy metal. And there's no denying the fact there's some Maidenisms in here. Andrew wears his influences on his sleeve for sure. And that makes it good. And he's got a very earthy, organic singing style. I love it. He doesn't really sound like anybody, but he's just got a really tasteful croon. It's just a solid metal record, and it's really cool. The vinyl, I don't know if this is like a limited edition or not, but it comes with a bonus CD. It's 5 covers. They did a cover of Rainbow Demon by Uriah Heep, Man on the Silver Mountain by Rainbow, In Trance by Scorpion, which is my favorite Scorpions record, Castle Walls by Styx, and Stand for the Fire Demon, a Rory Erickson and the Aliens cover. All these covers are excellent. They really did a great job on all of them. This is a clear vinyl. It's got an autographed photo of the band. Andrew's in the center. And we just talked to Andrew. He's going to be coming in on a Tuesday, it sounds like. Future notes. Coming in on a Tuesday for a quick blast. We're going to talk about Iron Flame, and then we're going to get him back on in the fall for a full episode on Friday. But if you're into heavy metal, with a power metal feel, this is very American sounding, though, even though there's some Maidenisms. It's a very American sounding band. Quinn is also in this band, who is also in Icarus Witch, which Andrew also sings in. Andrew also is in the band playing bass and singing for Brimstone Coven. He's done a bunch of other projects over the years, and of course the Saskatchewan as well. Everything that I've heard out of this man is pure quality. He's a sweet human being. I love him. Great guy, great engineer, great mastering guy. All of it. He's got it all going on here. And Iron Flame, awesome band. This is their 3rd album, their 4th album again, Where Madness Dwells, dropped last Friday. So go on their Bandcamp and check it out.
Yeah, I've got it bookmarked on Bandcamp, and for some reason the other night, shutting things down, I forgot to buy it before I logged out of everything. But yeah, cool band. Their albums have all been very, very good. I when I first picked them up, I was a little hesitant. It's like, it may just be kind of a generic, metal thing. But no, Andrew's really good on it. Definitely
it's
gives
fun.
it.
It's fun.
You're right. It has, he wears his influences on his sleeve, but he also gives it, his own little stamp for sure.
He does. Absolutely.
Yeah, so cool stuff. Very much looking forward to the new one, and looking forward to having him back on. We've had him on before, and he was a lot of fun to talk with.
Yeah, we did the Mysterious album.
Yes,
albums. Yeah,
albums with kind of a mysterious vibe to them, which was a fun one to dig up titles for.
Indeed. It was a fun one to hunt for. It was kind of outside of the box topic, which was fun. It was fun.
Indeed.
All right.
Okay, last one for the night. Let's end strong. I hadn't played this one for a little while, but sometimes you just got to listen to the best band of the century and one of the best bands of the past, or one of the best albums of the past decade, Atlantean Codex, The Course of Empire. German epic metal. Thought that might go over well, and we can agree on this as a closer for the night. If you haven't checked this band out, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Stop listening to us and go buy this or listen to it now. German epic metal. Basically, you're taking the best elements of early 80s Manowar, a little bit of like Hammerheart, Twilight of the Gods era Bathory, mixing it all together and just making it fucking glorious. This band can do no wrong for me. I've gushed about them before. I've got an entire episode on my channel, Let's Talk Metal, about the band and their catalog. They just can't do anything wrong. It's one of those bands that I've waited my whole life to hear a band like this. They are fucking amazing. If you like any of that, Doomsword, but 100 times better. And that's nothing bad about Doomsword. I like Doomsword. Classic Manowar, but better, more early Manowar, but take away the cheese that, sometimes can it be distracting, if nothing else. Sometimes it's fun, but if you're a little tired of, hearing them just sing about, wenches getting wet, and you want to, something that, a little deeper content, Atlantean Codex is what you're looking for. If you're looking, for, again, something that sounds a little bit like Quorthon was, doing with the Viking era stuff, but that, has more forceful and powerful traditional metal roots still embedded in it, Atlantean Codex.
Man, the song "He Who Walks Beyond the Years" is probably one of the top 10 best metal songs I've ever heard. It is so fucking good. I love it. So
that
good.
Song, everything on here, Lion of Chaldea is just amazing. Children of the Moon is, just amazing. Every song, any other band did even one song this good, and yes, they would be heralded for writing a masterpiece. This band does it every fucking song almost. It really is almost just crazy that, the level of quality they've done. This is their most recent album. They did have a slight lineup change where I think one of their longtime guitarists was having, issues where he had to step back and out. So they had brought in a new guitarist, and don't miss a beat. Still sounds absolutely amazing. My favorite band of the 21st century, and it's not even really close. I don't know who I would name number two. I know exactly who I would pick number one. The best band that has come out in the past 22 years. Right here, German epic metal supreme, Atlantean Codex. And with that, I think we are done for the evening.
Awesome. Well, it was fun. Almost 3 hours of us going through our what's been playing section, and these are always fun episodes. And even though we don't have a guest, it's still good to have everybody stop by and hang out with us tonight. Thank you for believing in us enough to entertain you with just the two of us. Oh wait, I want to ask you a question. What does it say? What else guilty pleasure? I don't think there really are guilty pleasures, are there? I like ABBA. Does that constitute a guilty pleasure? But I don't feel guilty about it. I grew up with ABBA, so
trying to think what's a good one for me to name here that I Gin Blossoms. Love that band.
Really?
Even their later albums, long after anybody was paying attention to them, they were still putting out excellent albums. Yes.
Huh. Okay, right on.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite just sort of rock albums of the 1990s. I'm of course drawn. I can't remember album titles tonight to save my ass, but yeah, the one they got airplay for around 93, 94. It's not Congratulations, I'm Sorry. That's the second one. Everyone knows the fucking album. All the hit singles came off of it. I adore that album. I've owned it for ages. I bought the special 3 CD edition of it at some point. Gin Blossoms, great catalog of stuff.
Holy shit, Journey's still putting out records? I thought they were just touring. I didn't realize they were putting out records. That's awesome. They still have that the guy from the Philippines in the band.
Hey, Jealousy. Yeah, that's an incredible song, Baloney. Absolutely.
I'm a little surprised about the Gin Block. That's cool, man.
It's great band. Absolutely. They don't fit in anything either. They always got lumped in, of course, with grunge and all that stuff. And they're not really a grunge band. They're not an alt rock band. They were a rock band. They had maybe a little bit of that desert vibe, being, from the Southwest, but not even that's a real pronounced thing in their music. Great songwriting. A shame, they had, lineup turbulence and all that, and quickly fell out of the public consciousness. But yeah, they were doing albums even into the 2000s that I like a lot.
Huh, right on. Cool.
Yep. So
where do you think that came from? Where do you think that what sparked that connection? A friend or seeing them on TV? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna check these guys out. It clicks with me.
It was very much the hit videos they had, when they were a thing on MTV. Check those out. Just like, damn, that's a really good song. I like that one. Next one was like, that's really good too. So went out, picked up the CD, and just fell in love with it from start to finish. Great album. The second album was a little uneven. That one didn't get a great reception. It has some very, very good songs, but there were some weird ego and lineup issues that had went on that threw that album a little off kilter. And then they kind of went into hiding, but. And I lost track of them, and it was one of those things, just like browsing e-music. I was, I subscribed to that for a while for, downloads, so I could buy them, directly, from the bands and stuff, before Bandcamp or, beside Bandcamp. And somehow or another, it popped up in, the, oh, you may like feed at some point. Just like, those guys are still around. What the hell do they sound like now? And it's like, wow, they picked right up where they left off. So yeah, I started filling in more and more of their catalog too.
So everybody be sure to check out Alan's new streaming channel called Heavy Jim Blossomergy. And it'll be
called Guilty Pleasure. Hey, Jealousy, Guilty Pleasures.
Who is it mentioned? Duran Duran. Right, sitting right over there is every single thing Duran Duran ever made on vinyl, plus singles. My wife is a humongous fan. I like them too. They're good. They're a good band. I know Mr. Jim Blossom over there is having problems with that, but anyway, everybody.
One of my big problems with Duran Duran is we're just wrapping up.
Because they're so beautiful, you can't handle the beauty.
No, I couldn't handle the fact that my freshman year of college, the wannabe frat boy that lived in the room next door to me could not stop playing. All he basically played was Duran Duran greatest hits and Rush greatest hits. He was the typical college wannabe trying to listen to college music, and so he had like 2 or 3 albums he just played over and over. So I heard that goddamn Duran Duran just endlessly all year, coming through the wall, because it's a freshman dorm. The walls are made out of tissue paper and stained things we won't talk about. And so any chance I ever had of saying, yeah, Duran Duran, okay, whatever, they're fine. No, that crashed and died. It's why I can't listen to the Rush song Tom Sawyer without literally wanting to go into road rage. It would not stop playing some of those damn songs over and over and over, and so completely ruined. So there is a reason.
Tim says we lost our metal credibility. Oh well.
Did we have metal credibility? You had metal credibility. I had I've got a Vlad Tepes CD.
I guess it's mine to lose, right? Anyway,
it's always in the last place you look for it.
Exactly. And let's talk about some programming notes.
Yes.
We've got Wednesday, we got the album club coming back. We're doing we're covering Destruction's Diabolical.
Mm-hmm.
Their 2022 release. Tuesday, we don't know yet. We're talking to Andrew about coming on doing a little talk about Iron Flame. I don't know if it's this Tuesday. It's coming on a future Tuesday. He's coming on a weekday because he's so busy that he can't make it on a weekend. So we'll get him back for a full episode eventually, but we're going to talk to him about the new Iron Flame. We want to help trying to push that down the road for sure. Friday, we've got Simon from
Explosive Action,
and Melanie from Melanie Loves Death Metal. We're going to be doing a Keeper Reap
Extreme Metal Edition.
People are sick of us showing power metal records, but tough.
Yes.
Deal with it.
Simon came up with this idea after watching us do Keeper Reap with Mike and Jurgen several weeks back. Simon thought it was a lot of fun. He immediately contacted us like, I want to do this with you guys too, but I want to do extreme metal, and maybe we could do it with someone like Melanie. So we talked to her, and she was very excited about joining in on it. So yes, we'll be playing the inane game of pretending to make people choose between albums they love and crushing goals and dreams. But it'll be focused more on the black metal, death metal, death doom. Probably still some heavier thrash is, I guess, fair game in there too. Simon, is thrash fair game for the extreme metal edition?
Fraser says y'all should do an episode of Guilty Pleasures. That'd be fun. Probably wouldn't be the very metal episode, but it'll be fun.
We kind of did that actually, and with Eric from High Defamation a while back. We did an episode on non-metal albums we think metalheads would like. Was the topic theme, and we had a lot of fun with that. I don't think I brought out Gin Blossoms that night, so oh well. But we could probably do something similar to that again sometime with another guest. That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. But anyway, as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. It'll be fine. It'll be good for us. It'll be good for you.
Fair,
we
Simon.
just did the Anthrax thing with Chromie. So
Indeed.
what's this?
Just looking at last minute comments.
Hey Marty, what do you think about the check out any more Hailstar stuff?
Oh, Hellstar, I guess he means.
Oh, Hailstar. No, I have not yet. I'm going to though. I'm going to. I was pretty impressed with the new one. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be digging into that for sure. And again, if anybody that watches the Friday streams regularly, keep in mind we're doing Tuesday streams and we're also doing Wednesday streams. So Wednesday is typically the the album club. Not a lot of traction on those because obviously people don't want to talk, watch people talk about one album for an hour or two, but they're fun. A lot of fun. Oh, brilliant. It's over. I just woke up. Sorry. Jurgen, it's good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. I see you dropped a video today. I'll be watching that after we finish this.
Hey, you're good.
Anyway, we're going to jump. It's great. Have a good time. Had a good time tonight. Alan, as always, you're the best.
Thank you.
And everybody in the chat, you're the best. Thank you for contributing to the show. And you
Yes.
don't read, Marty? No, I don't read.
As always, it's been a very fun chat tonight. Just lots of cool comments and discussion going on over there. Thank you to everybody who's contributed to that. It does make it a lot of fun to be able to interact with y'all as we go.
Tim, we're not going to ditch the album club. It has been a fun addition to the channel for sure. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to probably have a revolving cast of characters on there, and we'll see. We're going to keep going.
Yep, Circuit's glad to hear you've enjoyed them too.
Yep, awesome. But cheers, everybody. Have a good night. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.
My chicken tastes drunk.
But it smells fantastic.
We'll get that closing phrase worked out sooner or later.
God damn it. We suck. We need to figure that out.
One of these days.
Cheers, everybody. See you later.